Chapter 2796, I'll call them Dad. Chapter 2796, I'll call them Dad. In Elder Wu's eyes, it was only bickering between two girls, but Feng Wu smiled bitterly. I'm getting back at her for destroying my true phoenix blood. Is that serious enough? True phoenix blood. Elder Wu had heard about the incident before, but he didn't know it involved Zhuo Qingwan. Recalling how frustrated Zhuo Qingwan was, Elder Wu realized what had happened. He patted Feng Wu. Try not to be on your own from now on. Hachu. Chen Ziyun sneezed. Only then did Elder Wu realize that there was someone in the cesspit. He was surprised. It was a major oversight for someone of his capability. Seeing that Chen Ziyun wanted to come out, Feng Wu immediately said, "Help me dig something out, and I'll make you a spiritual king." Chen Ziyun didn't believe her. To do that, he would have to bury his entire body in the feces, and he wasn't going to do that. However, Feng Wu was telling the truth. Out of all the places, Little Phoenix had to bury the thing in the cesspit, because it was where the essence of the spirit stone worms was. Wait, Elder Wu cried out. These are very precious. However, the spiritual essence has been absorbed by something else. What happened? Chen Ziyun looked at Elder Wu. Is that really possible? Elder Wu nodded. I think you should try. Chen Ziyun stared at Feng Wu. There will be consequences if I can't find anything down there. When he finally found it, Feng Wu came back with a large bucket of water. Water was difficult to find in a place like this. The smell was suffocating, and Chen Ziyun immediately poured the water over his head to wash himself clean. He sniffed at his clothes, but the smell was still there. He felt like crying. Feng Wu gave him some deodorant. That finally got rid of the stink, and Chen Ziyun let out a breath of relief. Meanwhile, Feng Wu had cleaned the box. It was only the size of a basketball basket. She opened it to reveal a porcelain bottle with a thin neck and small bottom. It wouldn't hold much liquid. Little Phoenix dashed out of Feng Wu's sleeve and started drinking from the bottle. Whoosh! It stopped after taking 3 gulps and handed it to the cub. The cub was confused, but it took the bottle obediently and took 3 gulps like Little Phoenix before handing it back to Feng Wu. Little Phoenix said, "Don't disturb us for a while." The bird and the cub disappeared after that. They went back to Feng Wu's ring space. They went as fast as they had come, and Chen Ziyun didn't have time to react. He hadn't seen Feng Wu's pets before and was intrigued by them. They've gone back to cultivate. Next time they come out, they'll be spiritual kings. Feng Wu held the bottle and smiled at Chen Ziyun. Chen Ziyun found her words idiotic and didn't really want to talk to her. Why did she make turning into spiritual kings sound so easy? He stared at her and asked, "Do you know how hard it is to become a spiritual king? Do you know how long I've been stuck at this level? Do you know how hard I've worked for it? If someone can make me a spiritual king, I'll call them Dad." Chapter 2797, Who's Your Daddy? 1. Chapter 2797, Who's Your Daddy? 1. Feng Wu smiled at Chen Ziyun. Do you want to become a spiritual king or not? Chen Ziyun stared at Feng Wu. Do I want to? Who wouldn't? Do you know how hard Sun Yu and the others have worked for it? Do you know how miserably they were defeated by spiritual kings in Peace Grassland? Do you know how many people would pay anything to become a spiritual king? You're already a spiritual king. You don't know how frustrating it is for people like me. Chen Ziyun waved his hand and looked as miserable as someone who wasn't understood by other people. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She handed Chen Ziyun the bottle. Chen Ziyun looked at her in confusion. Feng Wu said, "Drink it." Chen Ziyun shook his head. "No, I won't." Feng Wu asked, "Are you sure? You earned it." Chen Ziyun stared at Feng Wu. "Mention it again, and I'll be angry." He then gave Feng Wu back the spiritual fossil stone. He had recorded everything since Zhuo Qingwan's arrival, including everything Zhuo Qingwan had said. The look Chen Ziyun gave her was a mix of pity and compassion. He felt sorry for what she had gone through. Feng Wu put away the spiritual fossil stone and looked at Chen Ziyun again. "Are you sure you don't want it?" "Yes. Force me again, and I'll be mad at you." Chen Ziyun glared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. The thought of him being buried in feces made him want to throw up. He had lost all appetite. Meanwhile, Elder Wu was staring at Feng Wu's bottle. He sniffed, and his eyes lit up. Is that? Can it be? Elder Wu's eyes flickered, and he looked like a hungry wolf. Is that spirit wine? Elder Wu was pleasantly surprised. Feng Wu was also surprised. Have you heard of it before? Elder Wu smacked the wall in excitement. Of course I have. All people of my age have. Chun Ziyun was stunned. Feng Wu's bottle had to contain something really amazing to make Elder Wu so excited. Elder Wu was one of the 36 elders of the school. They were the foundation and the most effective defense system of Imperial College. Chun Ziyun was intrigued and looked back and forth between Elder Wu and Feng Wu. Elder Wu was glaring at Feng Wu. Are you holding real spirit wine? Feng Wu said lightly. That's right. Elder Wu said, show me. Show me now. Since Elder Wu had criticized Zhuo Qingwan, Feng Wu returned the favor by handing it to him. Elder Wu didn't gulp it down like Little Phoenix had. He carefully poured a drop on his fingertip and put his finger in his mouth. His eyes lit up. OMG! The smell and taste indicated that it was spirit wine. Chapter 2798. Who's Your Daddy? 2. Chapter 2798. Who's Your Daddy? 2. It really was spirit wine. Elder Wu was so excited that he thought he was going to lose his mind. He stared at Feng Wu. Yes, it's spirit wine. I can recognize it from a mile away. Feng Wu nodded with a smile. Chun Ziyun looked at Elder Wu in bewilderment. He still didn't know what was going on. Elder Wu then kicked him, and Chun Ziyun dropped to his knees. The elder made sure that the boy was kneeling in front of Feng Wu. Chun Ziyun stared at Elder Wu in astonishment. What was going on? Elder Wu said angrily, She's your daddy now. Chun Ziyun couldn't stop laughing. Was the old man trying to be funny? Feng Wu felt utterly confused. She didn't know if Elder Wu was being serious or trying to be funny. Elder Wu had done it on the spur of a moment, and he felt awkward when he realized what he had done. He gave Chun Ziyun a stern look and scolded him. You idiot! I can't believe you can be so stupid. Even pigs are cleverer than you, because they'll eat what they're fed. You've been given the best thing on this continent, but you won't take it. How stupid can you be? Chun Ziyun was confused, but he seemed to understand a little. Exactly what was this spirit wine? Seeing that Chun Ziyun still looked stunned, Elder Wu said, It'll take you straight to the spiritual king stage. What? Chun Ziyun blinked in astonishment. Straight to the spiritual king stage? How's that possible? It can't be. How could something so precious exist? Elder Wu glared at him. Of course it's possible. Most of the elders became spiritual kings because they drank spirit wine. We were a seeded team, too, and we also couldn't make it to the spiritual king stage. The wine brought us there. What? Chun Ziyun was astonished. Why weren't we given any? Elder Wu said, The secret essence mine collapsed, and we couldn't find it again. Our stock ran out, so we couldn't give you any. Chun Ziyun said, So, we came into the secret essence mine to... Elder Wu nodded. We came here to train you, as well as to search for spirit wine. However, we didn't have much hope of finding it, but you dug it out. Chun Ziyun said, I didn't. Feng Wu told me where to dig. He didn't dare take the credit. Elder Wu nodded, turned to Feng Wu, and tried to find the right words. The spirit wine meant a lot to the team members, who were still level 9 spiritual lords. Elder Wu tried to say something, but couldn't bring himself to say it. Seeing what Elder Wu was getting at, Feng Wu held out her hand. Elder Wu looked from the bottle to Feng Wu. He didn't know what to give to her. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She said in resignation, That's mine. Elder Wu ground his teeth. I can give it to you, but you have to share it with the team members. He was being fair enough. Other people would have taken it away without asking for Feng Wu's opinion, and there was nothing she would be able to do about it. Feng Wu said, It sounds like you really want our team to win. Chapter 2799, Bargain. Chapter 2799, Bargain. Elder Wu said grumpily, Why would I want to lose? He knew Feng Wu was too clever to believe in some made-up excuse, So he said, "Why do you think there's a competition between the two colleges every year? Do you think it's about petty resources like we've been telling the students?" Of course not. Elder Wu stared at Feng Wu. It's related to how the resources are allocated between the elders of the two colleges. If you win, we'll receive a significant amount of cultivation resources from the Empire and the right to command the battle in peace grassland. Feng Wu asked. The right to command the battle. She didn't know so much was involved. What do you think? Elder Wu stared at her. Do you think everybody just fights on their own there? Of course somebody has to command them. Feng Wu said, "Isn't that Northern Feng General's job?" The general was, in fact, her godfather. Elder Wu said, "Yes, he's the highest command, but cultivators can only fight at their own stages." Feng Wu looked at him in confusion. Elder Wu said, "For example, you're a spiritual king, so you can only go to the spiritual king battlefield in the grassland. If you enter spiritual lord territory, you'll be punished for it." Feng Wu's eyes widened. I didn't know such a rule existed. Elder Wu waved his hand. You've never been to Peace Grassland. Why am I telling you this now? Just remember, the competition is more than a game between students. It's a battle between two forces. All eyes will be on the two teams. The Military Academy's team already has two spiritual kings, and we only have you. We're at a severe disadvantage. Elder Wu said sternly. Feng Wu, will you contribute to your college and make us proud? Feng Wu cleared her throat. It would take more than that to take the spirit wine from her. She took the bottle from Elder Wu and put it away before she grinned at the old man. I'll give it to whomever I want to give it to. Nobody can tell me what to do. Elder Wu was a little displeased. Feng Wu, this is a serious matter. Feng Wu smiled. Why should it bother me? Did Elder Wu think he could persuade her with the speech about the big picture? She wasn't born yesterday. What do you want? Elder Wu stared at her. Feng Wu smiled. I don't like Zhuo Wan. How straightforward. Elder Wu stared at her. So, shall I have her beaten up in a dark alley? Do you like the sound of that? He didn't even need to ask someone else to do it. He could do it himself. However, that wasn't what Feng Wu wanted. Where's the fun in that? Feng Wu shook her head. What do you want, then? Somehow, Elder Wu felt Feng Wu had a more wicked plan. Feng Wu grinned. You'll see. It amazed Chun Ziyun to see how Feng Wu bargained with Elder Wu. That was amazing. Who was Elder Wu? He was a member of the 36 elders who outranked all the vice chiefs. Chapter 2800 Collapsing. Chapter 2800 Collapsing. That was to say, Elder Wu was ranked higher than the vice chiefs. All ordinary students revered the vice chiefs, and even Shinzin didn't dare look directly at Elder Wu. However, Feng Wu was actually bargaining with him. She actually had the upper hand in the negotiation. Shinzin couldn't help but admire her courage. However, Feng Wu glanced at him at that moment. Chun Ziyun suddenly realized something. The spirit wine. He needed the spirit wine. He stared at Feng Wu in excitement. Boss Feng Wu, please let me have it. The idea of rising to the spiritual king stage made him want to jump around. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at him. So now you want to become a spiritual king? Chun Ziyun said, Of course. I dream about it every day. Feng Wu smiled at him. Recalling how he had doubted Feng Wu and refused to drink the spirit wine, he felt utterly embarrassed. Luckily, he never stayed embarrassed for long. He knelt at Feng Wu's feet and tugged at her sleeve. Boss Feng Wu, please help me. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Was this guy really the captain of Dynasty Team? Fine. You can get your share. Feng Wu took out a tiny bottle, filled it, and handed it to Chun Ziyun. That's enough spirit wine to help you reach the spiritual king stage. Of course, if you want to play the generous person and give it to someone else, that has nothing to do with me. Chun Ziyun had indeed thought about giving it to his team members. However, he shook his head when he saw the warning look in Feng Wu's eyes. He knew Feng Wu must have her own arrangements. All of a sudden, boom, the ground shook violently. Feng Wu and Elder Wu reacted in time and grabbed onto the wall to steady themselves. Chun Ziyun was bumped back and forth between the walls and was almost knocked out. It seemed forever before the shaking stopped. Chun Ziyun felt dizzy and asked Feng Wu, "What happened?" Feng Wu's face darkened. She wanted to know what happened, too. However, little Phoenix was cultivating and wouldn't be able to answer the question before it woke up. However, she had a bad feeling. Her chest felt tight, her heart was beating abnormally, and she had a dull headache. Back when Zhuo Qingwan set her up, she had gotten the same feeling before she went to meet Zhuo Qingwan, who then destroyed her true Phoenix blood. She knew she would only have this sort of feeling when her life was in danger. An idea suddenly struck her. It couldn't be. Oh no, Feng Wu shouted. If I'm right, this mine is going to collapse. Quickly, we must get out now. What? The secret essence mine was going to collapse. How is that even possible? Neither Qin Ziyun nor Elder Wu believed her. However, the rumbling got closer and closer. Feng Wu led the way. Follow me if you want to stay alive. Elder Wu was much more sensitive than Qin Ziyun, and he felt the approaching danger as well. So he grabbed Qin Ziyun. I think it's really happening. Run. Chapter 28:01 Fleeing. Chapter 28:01 Fleeing. Run. Everybody started running. The tunnels began to collapse. Qin Ziyun finally panicked and shouted, "Oh my God! The walls are falling down. Why is this happening?" He had thought Feng Wu was joking. Even Elder Wu looked rather nervous now. Feng Wu was the calmest one. Follow me. I'll lead you out of the mine. Qin Ziyun glanced at her. Really? He doubted it. However, they didn't have many options and could only follow her instructions. Led by Feng Wu, their retreat was rather methodical, but it wasn't the case for the other people in the mine. The people were divided into 4 groups, and Zhuo Qingwan was on her own. No one but Zhuo Qingwan knew how she got out. She was holding a jade pendant that held a flame. She had carried the pendant for over a decade. There had been an abnormal phenomenon when Feng Wu was born, which was why the entire city had been intrigued about her. The same thing happened with Zhuo Qingwan. This jade pendant appeared when Feng Wu was born. The midwife who delivered Feng Wu put it away. When the Zhuo family investigated Feng Wu, they found the midwife and obtained the pendant from her. The pendant was usually white, but when activated, a tiny, flaming phoenix would appear. It had the power to destroy everything. Zhuo Qingwan had activated the pendant 3 times so far, and each time, the tiny phoenix would help her kill the person she wanted to kill. She gripped the pendant and whispered, "I'm the only one with the true phoenix blood. My phoenix, bring down this mine." Sealed in the pendant was the power of a phoenix of ancient times. The energy surged at Zhuo Qingwan's command. Boom! The sound of explosions and collapsing walls filled the mine. Zhuo Qingwan smirked. She was sure she could kill Feng Wu today. What about the others? Zhuo Qingwan couldn't care less. It wasn't their lucky day. Unfortunately, Zhuo Qingwan didn't realize that the energy surge from the pendant decreased every time she activated it. This was the 3rd time, and there was already a crack in the pendant, which Zhuo Qingwan hadn't noticed. What she didn't know was that the pendant came from Feng Wu's beautiful master and had been used to protect Feng Wu when she reincarnated into this world. Zhuo Qingwan had stolen it. Feng Wu didn't know about the pendant, nor did she know why the mine collapse was happening so suddenly. She frowned and quickly led the others toward the exit. She knew formations, and she was a level 8 formation master. She knew the layout of the entire mine as if the map was in her head. Qin Ziyun followed Feng Wu. He doubted her at first. However, he became more amazed as they walked. OMG, Feng Wu really seemed to know the way. She even avoided all the places that had collapsed. Chapter 28:02 Phoenix Pendant. Chapter 28:02 Phoenix Pendant. Qin Ziyun noticed that Feng Wu was taking them along the safest paths. He could hear the sound of the mine collapsing nearby, but nothing happened to the tunnel they were in. He looked over his shoulder when they reached the next tunnel. The one they had just walked through no longer existed. Qin Ziyun felt a chill run down his spine. What if he hadn't listened to Feng Wu and had picked up his pace, he would have been buried by now. Qin Ziyun and Elder Wu looked at each other in astonishment. It seemed that Feng Wu knew everything. With Feng Wu leading the way, they had a relatively safe journey. However, the other two groups weren't as lucky. The collapse wasn't a one-off incident. It kept happening. The 8-man group was led by Sun Yu. When the collapse started, he immediately turned on his armband and asked for Elder Wu's help. Elder Wu, are you there? We need help. However, he didn't receive any reply. It wasn't that Elder Wu had abandoned them. Right now, he wasn't within a 20 km radius. Wang Xiao realized what was going on. Elder Wu isn't in the circle. He must have gone off to help Ziyun and Feng Wu. The elder was out of the armband's reach. Wang Xiao grew anxious. Qiu Ziyu was even more anxious because he was terrified of death. It's all Feng Wu's fault. Qiu Ziyu ground his teeth. If it wasn't for her, Ziyun would never have left the safe circle, and Elder Wu wouldn't have left us to protect them. Elder Wu won't know the danger we're in now. Wang Xiao glanced at him. Deep down, he felt that Qiu Ziyu was right. However, he was too responsible to blame the danger they were in on other people. No one knew this was going to happen. Wang Xiao gave Qiu Ziyu a stern look. Not Feng Wu, and not Elder Wu. Moreover, we don't know if they're still alive. Chu Chu nodded. We'll have to save ourselves. Hearing the mine collapse, Qiu Ziyu ground his teeth. How? What should we do? Find Elder Mei. Sun Yu made up his mind. He must know the way out. That's right. There's Elder Mei. The others agreed with him. The collapse was happening mainly around Feng Wu, and their area wasn't as severely affected. They soon found Elder Mei. Elder Mei looked very displeased. It had taken him forever to clear out this small area, and there was still much work to do. He remembered clearly that a treasure was hidden in the mine. It was spirit wine. He was trying so hard to study the mine because he wanted to find the spirit wine and create a shortcut for the team members. He and his fellow elders had made their breakthroughs this way, and it pained him to see the teenagers stuck at their levels. But now, more tunnels were collapsing. The sound came from the direction where the spirit wine was buried. Elder Mei was devastated. Elder Mei, is the mine collapsing? Sun Yu asked. Chapter 28:03 Run 1. Chapter 28:03 Run 1. Elder Mei nodded solemnly. Yes, it is. Why is this happening? Sun Yu grew anxious. Do you know where Elder Wu is? What about Ziyun and Feng Wu? Elder Mei looked in the direction where most of the collapse was taking place. Sun Yu paled. Although Elder Mei didn't say anything, the look on his face was the answer. Elder Mei gritted his teeth. You get out first. I'll take a look over there. Sun Yu said, We'll go with you. Elder Mei said, No, I don't have the time to look after you. He then ran in the direction where he thought Elder Wu was. However, he only made it a few steps before rocks began to fall. The collapse had reached their area. Elder Mei, the impact threw him off balance. The others rushed over and helped him to his feet. However, more rocks fell from above. Elder Mei, do you think Elder Wu? Elder Mei climbed to a higher spot and looked into the distance. The area was in ruins. Only he could climb that high because the students didn't know formations. Elder Mei was filled with sorrow. When he climbed back down, his face was drained of blood and he looked 10 years older. Elder Mei? Everybody panicked when they saw his face. Elder Mei said sadly, They've been buried underneath. I don't think the chance they survived is high. He took a deep breath and went on. We're in grave danger ourselves. We must get out as soon as possible. The team members couldn't believe it. Are we going to give up on them? Before Elder Mei could answer, Mr. Su said sternly, Do you think Elder Mei doesn't want to save them? He can't. The collapse started in their direction. One can only imagine what happened over there. Do you know how dangerous it'll be to go in that direction now? To make it worse, we haven't explored that area yet. Even Elder Mei doesn't know the way. There are 80,000 tunnels. We can easily get lost and die there. Even if Elder Wu wasn't buried, he won't find his way out. The others lost hope when they heard this. Meanwhile, more rocks were falling, and the rumbling was getting closer. Mr. Su turned pale. He turned to Elder Mei and waited for his decision. Elder Mei remained silent. Mr. Su said anxiously, Elder May, we still have so many students here. Staying here will get everybody killed. They're all elite students of our school and valuable assets. We can't afford to lose all of them. The team members glared at him. Ziyun isn't dead, Sun Yu retorted. If he had known the way, he wouldn't just be standing here. Elder May finally made up his mind. Let's go. He had Mr. Su lead the way. They had explored this area, so Mr. Su knew the way out. No matter how reluctant Sun Yu and the others were, they didn't have any choice. They couldn't stay here, because... Chapter 2804 Run 2. Chapter 2804 Run 2. More rocks were falling on their heads, and the tunnels were collapsing more rapidly. Where's Zhuqing? Elder May finally remembered the girl that had been following him around. Mr. Su looked around and realized he had lost Zhuqing. He then remembered something. She said she was going to help Feng Wu. Elder May said, Nonsense. Does she not know what her capability is like? What makes her think she can help other people? Mr. Su didn't know what to say. Elder May said, I'm afraid she's been buried as well. The team didn't like Zhuqing all that much, so no one said anything when they heard the news. Meanwhile, the rumbling was getting closer. Let's go, Mr. Su said anxiously. Sun Yu and the others took another look in that direction, gritted their teeth, and started moving toward the exit. The collapse was close behind them. They were racing against time. If they lagged behind, they would be hit by the rocks and buried underneath. It was the most dangerous thing they had ever experienced. Mr. Su ground his teeth. What were these students hesitating for? That Sun Yu even wanted to save those people. He believed he would be out of here by now if those students hadn't delayed him. He was complaining in his head when Sun Yu shouted, Isn't this area 20 kilometers wide? Why haven't we reached the exit? The sound of the collapse was so loud that Sun Yu had to shout at the top of his lungs. Everybody was running as fast as they could, and what Sun Yu said made them realize that something was wrong. Yes, at this speed, they should have covered the 20 kilometers by now. Why did the tunnels seem to never end? How long did they have to run? Mr. Su didn't know what to say. He was also dumbfounded. That was right. They should have covered the 20 kilometers in no time, but now. Mr. Su then realized something. However, Sun Yu was the first to ask the question. Mr. Su, you haven't led us in the wrong direction, have you? Mr. Su didn't know what to say. Because, in fact, he really had. Mr. Su's face was livid. He gave Sun Yu a dirty look before turning to Elder May. Elder May's face was livid. In a critical moment like this, Mr. Su had led them in the wrong direction. With a wave of his hand, Elder May led the others into a safer tunnel that had yet to collapse. The collapse happened like dominoes. Elder May did some calculations and was stunned. How had this happened? The formation pattern he had figured out had changed significantly. That was to say, the path he thought could lead them to the exit would no longer take them there. No wonder Mr. Su ran in the wrong direction. The formation had changed. Elder May, everybody looked at him anxiously. He was their only hope. However, Elder May had never appeared so troubled. Everybody looked at one another nervously. They knew it would be a matter of time before the collapse reached this tunnel. Elder May said in a hoarse voice, It won't be easy to find the path now. Everybody was astonished. Chapter 2805, Can't Find the Way. Chapter 2805, Can't Find the Way. Everybody stared at Elder May in astonishment. What was that supposed to mean? Mr. Su asked the question for them. Elder May, what do you mean the path is hard to find now? The collapse had stopped, but it was only temporary. They knew the next wave would start soon. Elder May seemed troubled by the question. He slowly said, The formation in the secret essence mine is beyond complicated. Solving it has been much harder than I expected. I thought the area I explored would remain safe, but when the formation changed, everything changed with it. Mr. Su asked anxiously, Is this formation forever changing? Elder May nodded. We're finished, mister. Sue began to howl. If the formation really did that, they would have no way to get out. Sun Yu and his teammates panicked. Why is this happening? I thought we were... Mister. Sue glared at them. The formation has changed. It means the paths have changed with it. We need to find a new way out. Sun Yu was speechless. The others were anxious as well. What should we do now? They all looked at Mr. Sue and Elder May. Mister, Sue said, it took us days to find that path, but now, boom, something worse happened. Their tunnel finally began to collapse. Mister, Sue paled. It's coming. The tunnel is coming down. Elder May, what should we do? We're going to be buried. Elder May's face was drained of all color. What should he do? I can find a way out if I have 2 more days, but now. Elder May turned in the direction of the noise. The rumbling was getting closer and closer. They didn't have 2 minutes, let alone 2 days. Elder May looked at them. You have 2 minutes to write down your last words. Last words? Sun Yu was almost in tears. Last words? We're about to fight military college. Are we going to be wiped out? Everybody panicked. Elder May waved at them. Write down your last words, and people may dig out the papers later. He then started on his own. Sun Yu suddenly smacked his forehead. Wait, didn't Feng Wu give us a little paper crane? That's right. Wang Xiao nodded. Feng Wu gave us a paper crane. She said it would lead us out of here. Mister. Sue found his words idiotic. Do you seriously believe her? Elder May wanted to roll his eyes as well. When one's life was threatened, people would stop thinking straight and might even become delusional. Let be. They were going to die. Anyway. Sun Yu took out the paper crane. The crane flapped its wings and flew forward. Little crane, can you take us out of here? Sun Yu was full of hope. Elder May rolled his eyes again. Sun Yu grabbed his arm. Let's go. Maybe it really knows the way out. Elder May didn't have any hope at all. He found the whole thing nonsensical. Wang Xiao took Elder May's other arm. Standing here will get us killed. Follow that bird, and maybe we still have a chance. The others followed the bird. Meanwhile, Mr. Sue was... Chapter 28:06 Agitation. Chapter 28:06 Agitation. Mr. Sue was left behind. Wait. He grew anxious when the others ran off with the bird. Although he didn't think the crane was reliable, he didn't want to stay here alone. He quickly followed the others, running as fast as he could. The crane led the way, flying a little bit faster than the speed of the collapse. Sun Yu and Wang Xiao held Elder May's arms and pushed him forward. Let go of me! Let go! Elder May shouted angrily. However, Sun Yu and the others ignored his protests and moved as fast as they could. Meanwhile, outside the secret essence mine, Gong Sun Mu and his colleagues were rushing toward the mine. They were panic-stricken when they sensed the danger. Why did it happen so suddenly? Everything was fine earlier. Mister, Yang said anxiously. Mister, Duan said, the entire dynasty team is inside. If something happens, we're going to... Elder May is inside, too. We can't lose him. Gong Sun Mu worried about Feng Wu the most. The Crown Prince had summoned him in person. Although he never mentioned Feng Wu, everything he said had been a hint that Gong Sun Mu should protect the girl. Therefore, Gong Sun Mu had always known how well-connected Feng Wu was. He found Zhuo Qingluan's petty tricks utterly ridiculous. Miss Qingluan is inside, too. Mister, Wang shouted agitatedly. She's the Crown Prince's fiancée. If something happens to her, our college is finished. Gong Sun Mu gave him a stern look without another word. The Crown Prince had only given him hints about protecting Feng Wu, and Zhuo Qingluan's name never came up. She wasn't his fiancée. That girl must be delusional. Gong Sun Mu and the others arrived at the secret essence mine. The door was closed. Gong Sun Mu was stranded outside the door, and there was nothing he could do. What should we do now? Mister. Gong Sun, what should we do? Mister. Wang and the others were anxious. Getting blamed for putting Zhuo Qingluan in danger wasn't the worst part. If the team lost the competition, the resources the teachers received would be reduced as well. Their own benefits would be affected. After the first explosion, the tunnels collapsed like dominoes. The ground outside shook as well. The ground shook so violently that the people outside were only able to remain standing because they were capable cultivators. Mr. Gong's son, the ground is caving in. It's collapsing too. Mr. Wang shouted. He was trying to say that since they couldn't save the others, they might as well leave first. Gong's son Mu shook his head. You can leave if you want, but I'm not leaving. Mr. Wang turned to look at the other tutors. The other tutors showed no intention to leave. Mr. Wang stomped his feet. He now had to stay here, where they could be buried alive at any moment. He muttered, they must have been buried alive and are dead by now. There's no point in standing here. We'll only be killed, too. What a waste of energy. No one answered him. The people inside were too important for Imperial College to lose. The tutors had never been so serious, and their eyes were bloodshot red. Mr. Wang was about to continue when something happened. Chapter 2807. Come out. Chapter 2807. Come out. Somebody charged out of the door. Everybody was thrilled when they saw who it was. Switching Wan, Miss Qingwan, Gong's son Mu, and the others ran to her side in excitement. Zhuo Qingwan didn't look well. Her clothes were covered with dust, and there was blood on her face. Gong's son Mu immediately asked, what's going on inside? Where are the others? All eyes were on Zhuo Qingwan. Zhuo Qingwan struggled to her feet, took a deep breath, and said gravely, what happened to them? Everybody was anxious. Speak, Zhuo Qingwan said. It was all Feng Wu's fault. If she had listened to Elder Mei and remained in the area she was supposed to, this mine would never have collapsed. Mr. Wang said, what? Did Feng Wu start it? I told you already that Feng Wu is trouble. Now you know I'm right. Gong's son Mu frowned and stared at Zhuo Qingwan. Where are the others? Zhuo Qingwan gritted her teeth. Feng Wu took everybody with her. I couldn't stop them. They wouldn't listen to me and went away with Feng Wu. They've all been buried down there. They're all dead. She believed that everybody was dead, and she could make up whatever story she wanted. Gong's son Mu's head spun. Everybody had been buried alive, including Feng Wu. Gong's son Mu swayed and dropped to his knees. Mr. Gong's son, everybody helped him to his feet. It was such a hard blow. Although Zhuo Qingwan had come out, Imperial College still couldn't afford the loss. Mr. Wang said, at least His Royal Highness won't blame us. He turned to Zhuo Qingwan. I'm so happy to see you. Otherwise, it would be the end of Imperial College. Zhuo Qingwan smirked inwardly. Once Feng Wu was dead, she was all the Empire had. The Crown Prince would have to choose her. She thought about how she was going to marry the Crown Prince, give him children, and become Empress. She could feel her heartbeat racing. However, Gong's son Mu shouted, no, His Royal Highness will make us pay. He will. Everybody gave him strange looks. Zhuo Qingwan had come out alive. Why would the Crown Prince be angry? Meanwhile, Zhuo Qingwan stared at Gong's son Mu. She wondered if he knew something. Was Feng Wu buried? Are you sure she's dead? Gong's son Mu stared at Zhuo Qingwan with bloodshot eyes. Zhuo Qingwan said coldly, yes, she's dead. I saw it with my own eyes. And there was Elder Mei. He died trying to save her. Did you watch them getting buried too? Mr. Young asked. Zhuo Qingwan thought, those people are all dead, and no one can verify my words. Therefore, she could slander Feng Wu however she wanted. Yes, Zhuo Qingwan said decisively. Chapter 2808, Alive. Chapter 2808, Alive. Mr. Wang lost his temper when he heard that Elder Mei had died because he tried to save Feng Wu. That Feng Wu got so many people killed just because she thought she had a little talent. I warned you before. Someone should discipline her. To possess talent, but no moral integrity will get people killed. It was all her fault. If she hadn't wandered off, the others wouldn't have been buried. Elder Mei was there, including the entire dynasty team. Feng Wu is going to ruin our college. Mr. Wang shouted at the top of his lungs. Zhuoqing Wan smiled viciously. She loved it when Mr. Wang did all the work accusing Feng Wu. In a secret essence mind, Elder Mei was astonished. He had been furious at first. The two students had disobeyed him. However, his mouth had fallen open. Because, as they followed the paper crane, he started to recognize their surroundings. The rumbling remained some distance behind them, and it almost felt like they were on the right track. Elder Mei, we're a little safer now. Please find a path. Mr. Su urged him. Elder Mei didn't say anything. He only stared at the crane that had been leading the way. The paper crane. Could it be? Elder Mei? Mr. Su almost wanted to shake the old man by the shoulders. Elder Mei woke up from his stupor and looked at the crane. He sounded certain when he spoke again. Follow the bird. What? Mr. Su was dumbfounded. Follow the crane. But it's just something Feng Wu made as a joke. Mr. Su thought Elder Mei was so shocked he had lost his mind. He said, Elder Mei, have you forgotten? Didn't you say the paper crane was nonsense? We even tore up the one she gave us. Elder Mei was speechless. Had he done something so stupid? Gosh, he really had. Elder Mei blushed and didn't know what to say. However, when his life was in danger, his dignity didn't matter anymore. Elder Mei shook his head and glanced at Mr. Su. No, it seems it's not a joke. Mr. Su said what? Elder Mei said, it probably has level 8 inscriptions on it. Mr. Su said, what did you say? When he recovered from the initial shock, he stared at Elder Mei and really thought the old man had lost it. Elder Mei, do you still remember how Feng Wu gave out the paper cranes? Apart from Zhuoqing Wan, she gave a paper crane to each of us. Level 8 inscriptions may not be so rare in the Dongsang Kingdom, but here in the Junwu Empire, they're priceless. Do you think Feng Wu would give us something so precious in passing? She was so casual about it. It was like she was giving out ordinary fruit. How can it be level 8 inscriptions? I won't believe it, even if you kill me. Mr. Su said decisively. Elder Mei didn't believe it either, because Feng Wu had been so offhanded about it when she gave out the paper cranes. However, Chapter 2809, Confrontation 1. Chapter 2809, Confrontation 1. Elder Mei didn't believe it at first, but what the paper crane did was beyond his expectations. He studied the paper crane and calmly said, let's follow it first. Mr. Su found the whole thing ridiculous. Sun Yu looked from Elder Mei to Mr. Su and suggested, it's not like we have any other options. Let's just follow the bird. What if it works? They followed the bird after that. Before long, they saw a spot of light up ahead. Mr. Su shouted excitedly, look, there's light. The underground tunnels were pitch black, and they had been using torches to move around. The light meant one thing. Is the exit up ahead? Sun Yu was equally excited. Elder Mei was astonished, but deep down, he knew this was going to happen. He looked at the paper crane. Just then, the bird seemed to have used up its energy. It swayed and turned into a little ball of flame. Before they could do anything, the bird turned into a wisp of smoke and disappeared. Elder Mei rushed forward, trying to grab it, but the smoke vanished into thin air. Elder Mei, we found our way out. We're going to live. Mr. Su said excitedly. Seeing that Elder Mei was still standing there, he grabbed the old man's arm and dragged him out of the tunnel. The people outside jumped when they charged out of the door. Zhuoqing Wan was the most astonished of them all. Her face went livid when she saw Elder Mei and the others. Gongsun Mu and the tutors were thrilled to see Elder Mei. They immediately gathered around him. Elder Mei, you're still alive. Thank God. Gongsun Mu and the tutors had been devastated a few minutes ago, but now they were ecstatic. Some of them even burst into joyous tears. Elder Mei was exhausted by all the running. He looked pale and weak. Gongsun Mu counted the people around him. Elder Mei, Mr. Su, Zhuoqing Wan. We still have 3 people inside. Gongsun Mu had been looking for Feng Wu. However, no matter how many times he searched, he still couldn't find Feng Wu anywhere, and he grew anxious. Where's Feng Wu? Where's she? Sun Yu said sadly. Feng Wu and Ziyun are in the same group. There. Was she really buried inside? Gong Sun Mu panicked. Buried? Sun Yu was confused. Who said that? She did. Everybody turned in Zhua Qingwan's direction. They all looked at her. Gong Sun Mu glared at Zhua Qingwan. Didn't you say you saw Feng Wu getting buried? Zhua Qingwan was speechless. Sun Yu and the others were shocked. They stared at Zhua Qingwan and asked, Did you see it? Zhua Qingwan didn't answer. Sun Yu was even more anxious. Answer me. Did you see them getting buried? Sun Yu, do you not know? Gong Sun Mu was confused. Sun Yu said, How are we supposed to know? We weren't together. Elder Wu split us into two groups. Feng Wu and Ziyun were in one group, and the 8 of us were in another group. Ziyun was in danger, so Elder Wu went to help him. Chapter 2810, Confrontation 2. Chapter 2810, Confrontation 2. Then the collapse started, so we went to Elder Mei and ran out of the mine with Mr. Su. Gong Sun Mu frowned. That's not what I heard. Miss Qingwan, didn't you say you saw with your own eyes Elder Mei and the students getting buried down there? That's right. Mr. Duan also turned to Zhua Qingwan. Miss Qingwan, you did say that you were there when the others were buried. All the tutors had heard her say those words, so she had no excuse to make. She began to panic. She thought the others had all died and nobody would challenge her. However, these people had come out alive. Why didn't they die? Sun Yu stared at Zhua Qingwan. Miss Qingwan, I think you owe us an explanation. Zhua Qingwan glanced at Sun Yu. What explanation? Sun Yu said, Miss Zhua, just because you're the vice chief doesn't give you the right to make irresponsible claims. Zhua Qingwan stared at him. She couldn't believe someone would talk to her that way. Gong Sun Mu also said, Miss Zhua, I'd like an explanation too. Zhua Qingwan snorted. I saw Feng Wu getting buried. As for Elder Mei, I admit I made the wrong assumption. I thought they were all together. Sun Yu frowned. We split up from the very beginning. How could we be together? Zhua Qingwan glared at him. Are you questioning me now? She was still a vice chief, and Sun Yu didn't dare ask too many questions, fearing that he might offend her. Everybody found her explanation unsatisfactory, but they didn't know what to accuse her of, so they stopped questioning her. Moreover, Gong Sun Mu cared more about Feng Wu. I don't believe she's dead. She's going to come out alive. He gritted his teeth. I believe in miracles. Zhua Qingwan smirked. The tunnels had probably all collapsed. How is Feng Wu going to come out? Zhua Qingwan feigned a sad tone and pretended to be in tears. She's dead. I saw it with my own eyes. Mr. Gong Sun, we should move somewhere safe. Mr. Wang said that's right. It's not safe here. The ground is still shaking, and we don't know if the collapse will spread. Mr. Gong Sun, we should leave. Gong Sun Mu said, You can go if you want. I don't think she's dead. Zhua Qingwan said, But Elder Mei is exhausted. She had rushed to Elder Mei's side as soon as he came out, asking about his condition. Unfortunately, Elder Mei didn't even glance at her. To her surprise, Elder Mei said, I don't think she's dead either. What? Everybody stared at Elder Mei. The old man hadn't liked Feng Wu all that much before, but now, Zhua Qingwan didn't like the sound of that at all. Chapter 2811, Astonishment. Chapter 2811, Astonishment. She stared at Elder Mei, completely shocked. She was much sharper than the others and could sense the change in his attitude. It wasn't a good sign. She had invested so much in the old man. She did everything he asked and fawned on him. Elder Mei had begun to warm up to her. However, she was gone for a little while, and Elder Mei had grown fond of Feng Wu. Zhua Qingwan couldn't accept it. Elder Mei, Zhua Qingwan said in an aggrieved tone, I'm sorry for your loss, but Feng Wu is. Hearing that, Elder Mei threw a dirty look at her. Sun Yu smirked. Feng Wu is the only reason we were able to get out. There's no way she's trapped inside. What did he mean? Zhua Qingwan's pupils contracted, and she stared at Sun Yu. What did you say? Sun Yu said. Feng Wu helped us get out. Zhuo Qingwan didn't believe him. She turned to Mr. Su for an explanation. Mr. Su nodded. The formation has completely changed, and we couldn't find the safe passageway from earlier. We came out because we followed Feng Wu's paper crane. What paper crane? Zhuo Qingwan glared at him. Mr. Su said, just like the one you tore up earlier. Zhuo Qingwan didn't know what to say. Those words felt like a slap to her face. That little paper crane? It's impossible. Zhuo Qingwan ground her teeth. I don't believe you. Sun Yu turned around and smirked. Suit yourself. Feng Wu let us out of the mine, and that's a fact. I'm sure she'll be able to get out, Sun Yu said confidently. What do you mean? Gongsun Mu was shocked. Why was everybody telling him different things? You said you watched Feng Wu getting buried alive. He turned to Zhuo Qingwan. He then turned to Sun Yu. Did you say Feng Wu led you out? Which of you is telling the truth? Is Feng Wu alive or not? Even Gongsun Mu was confused, let alone the other tutors. Sun Yu said, we were lost at first, and even Elder Mei couldn't find the way. Luckily, we had a paper crane that Feng Wu gave us earlier, and it led us out of the tunnel. How could a paper crane lead you out? Somebody didn't believe him. Sun Yu said, Feng Wu told us the paper crane had level 8 inscriptions on it. Don't make me laugh. Level 8 inscriptions? Do you know what that means? Mr. Wang smirked. If that's the case, show me. Sun Yu said, it's burned to ash. Mr. Wang said, so, you don't have any evidence. Sun Yu said, Elder Mei said so himself. Zhuo Qingwan gave Mr. Wang a warning glance, and Mr. Wang kept questioning Sun Yu. He said, Elder Mei doesn't talk much, but you can't make up things like that. He's telling the truth, Elder Mei suddenly said. Everybody was shocked. Level 8 inscriptions. The paper crane really had level 8 inscriptions. Chapter 28:12, Chased by the Collapse. Chapter 28:12, Chased by the Collapse. However, level 8 inscriptions were so precious and were only used in the central area of the school. Feng Wu was a mere student. How could she possibly have that kind of instrument? Who was she kidding? Sun Yu added, Feng Wu has a lot of them. She gave one to each of us. Zhuo Qingwan said, not me. Sun Yu said, yes, she left only you out. Zhuo Qingwan almost exploded. Mr. Wang said, didn't you say the crane burnt to ash? You can say whatever you want. Seeing that Sun Yu wanted to bring up Elder Mei again, Mr. Wang cut him off. I'll only believe you if Feng Wu comes out alive. However, could Feng Wu come out alive? Everybody stared at the exit. Then, boom, the ground shook even more violently. Rocks kept spilling out of the mine and almost landed on their heads. A rock hit Mr. Wang on the back, and he almost burst into tears. Mr. Gongsun, did you hear that? The collapse is coming in our direction. We should leave now. Mr. Wang urged everybody. Feng Wu must be dead. She can't survive this. Gongsun Mu couldn't keep his balance either. The cracks on the ground looked like spider webs. Boom! The sound grew louder and louder. Just then, dark clouds gathered in the sky, and it turned dark. Whoosh! Look, the walls of the mine are cracking too. Mr. Wang almost jumped to his feet. Everybody looked up. He was right. There were cracks on the outer wall of the mine. They were expanding as well. The mine really was going to collapse. The walls were over 30 meters high. If the walls fell on them, they would all be buried inside. They had to leave. Zhuo Qingwan cherished her life more than anything else and was the first to run. Mr. Wang followed her. Mr. Yang and the others looked at one another before anxiously turning to Gongsun Mu. Gongsun Mu was so worried that he felt sick. He couldn't run. If Feng Wu really were inside, the Crown Prince would punish all of them. When that happened, they would wish they were dead. He would rather die here than run away. Run, all of you. He decided to stay where he was. Mr. Yang and the others anxiously looked at the shaking mine that could collapse at any moment. Go! Gongsun Mu bellowed. He stayed because he had to take full responsibility. If he died with Feng Wu, Maybe the Crown Prince would spare Imperial College. Meanwhile, Feng Wu and the other two were rushing as fast as they could through the mine. If Little Phoenix were around, they wouldn't be worried about a collapse of this size. The bird could sense everything and would know the safest route. However, the bird was still cultivating now, and they were on their own. Figuring out the right route wasn't enough. They also had to avoid the places where the walls would cave in. The collapse was right on their heels. It was moving as fast as they were. Chapter 28:13 Shadow Phoenix. Chapter 28:13 Shadow Phoenix. If Feng Wu were a little bit slower when she calculated the route, they would all die. Shunzian kept his eyes on Feng Wu and didn't dare disturb her. Even Elder Wu didn't dare make a sound. Feng Wu was too important to them now. If she were a second too slow, they would all be dead. Luckily, Feng Wu was a level 8 formation master, and she knew this formation inside out. Therefore, she was able to choose the best route every single time. She found it strange when she noticed a hint of a phoenix from the collapse that was on their heels. It was the energy of the true phoenix blood. Was it Zhuqingwan? Feng Wu frowned and stopped abruptly. If it really was the effect of the true phoenix blood, would her divine phoenix blood be able to stop it? Seeing Feng Wu stop, Chunzian thought he was going to have a heart attack. Feng Wu, God, why are you standing there? Run. The collapse was almost upon them. Feng Wu took out a dagger and slid it across her palm. Blood oozed out. Drops of blood flew out toward the collapsed site. Xiao Wu, what are you doing? Run. Chunzian grabbed Feng Wu and ran toward the exit. Caught by surprise, Feng Wu was dragged away. Seeing light up ahead, Chunzian shouted in excitement. It's right ahead. Run. The collapse seemed to speed up behind them. It was as if a beast had woken up deep in the mine. Elder Wu grabbed Chunzian, who grabbed Feng Wu in turn and picked up his speed. With a whoosh, they rushed out of the mine. The moment they were outside, the mine's entrance collapsed. Elder Wu saw Gongsun Moon kneeling on the ground, so he grabbed the ladder with his free hand and ran away from the collapsing site. Feng Wu felt dizzy from all the yanking, so she didn't realize that there was a shadow phoenix in the collapsed mine. The shadow phoenix had been trapped inside a jade pendant. Flames spread out as if a phoenix was soaring in the sky. Zhuqingwan had put a drop of her blood on the pendant to wake up the shadow phoenix. Enraged, the bird started the explosion that brought down the entire mine. It was only a shadow, but it could destroy the whole mine with one sneeze. If it recovered more strength and did more than sneeze, the result would be terrifying. The phoenix licked its beak. It tasted like blood. What? The bird seemed confused. The food tasted much better. It had tasted that blood a long time ago. It couldn't understand why the food had suddenly become so tasty. It wanted all its food to taste like this. Somehow, the bird felt it was born to feed on things like that blood. What it had eaten before was rubbish in comparison. It threw a dirty look in Zhuqingwan's direction as it returned to the pendant. What Zhuqingwan didn't know was, her true phoenix blood was far less potent than the divine phoenix blood. Now that the shadow phoenix had tasted Feng Wu's blood, it would resist Zhuqingwan's blood when she tried to get the bird to do dirty deeds for her. Chapter 28:14 Zhuqingwan slips away. Chapter 28:14 Zhuqingwan slips away. Boom! The mine finally collapsed. Luckily, Elder Wu dragged everybody away before that. Feng Wu, Ziyun, Elder Wu. Everybody rushed to their side and greeted them. There were a few exceptions. One of them was Zhuqingwan. It had never occurred to her that Feng Wu would come out alive. She ground her teeth. She had ordered the shadow phoenix to kill Feng Wu, no matter the cost. The bird had disappointed her. Recalling how she had said she saw Feng Wu getting buried, she felt mortified. When the others weren't looking, Zhuqingwan slipped away. Mr. Wang had been watching Zhuqingwan and was surprised when he saw her leave. Had she given up? By the looks of it, the girl wasn't as capable as she was said to be. He wondered if he was barking up the wrong tree. Fearing the humiliation, Mr. Wang ran off as well. Gong Sun-mu was so excited to see Feng Wu that he burst into tears. He grabbed her sleeves and examined her as if she were his granddaughter. Elder Mei gave Feng Wu a long look and said, "Come with me." Feng Wu walked away with him. The other people gathered together and exchanged stories about their adventures in the mine. Hearing their conversation, Gong Sun-mu frowned. "So, Zhuqing Wan was lying when she said she saw you all buried alive. Sun Yu said she wasn't even with us. How could she see that?" Shun Ziyu nodded. "That's right. There was no way she could have seen us. Moreover, even if she had, why didn't she try to save us? And how did she get out?" Gong Sun-mu and the other tutors found Chun Ziyun's argument very reasonable. They were going to question Zhuqing Wan, but realized she was no longer there. She disappeared quickly enough. Gong Sun-mu ground his teeth. He now realized that there was something off about Zhuqing Wan. Sun Yu said, "We only got out because of Feng Wu's paper crane." Chu Chu said, "That's right." Elder Mei said the formation had changed, and he didn't know the way anymore. "We lost all hope. Luckily, we had Feng Wu's crane on us, and that was how we got out." Qin Ziyun was surprised. "Was that how you got out? I didn't think the paper crane would work." Chu Chu said, "That's right. Elder Mei didn't know what to do and actually asked us to write down our last words. The bird showed us the way." "Ziyun, how did you get out?" Qin Ziyun said, "Feng Wu let us out." Chu Chu was astonished. "Are you saying Feng Wu really knew her way around the mine? Is she really a level 8 inscription master?" "That's impossible. She might know the way, but she can't be a level 8 inscription master. Even Elder Mei isn't at that level yet." Shun Ziyun shook his head. Chapter 28:15 Spiritual King. Chapter 28:15 Spiritual King. "Maybe someone gave her the paper cranes," Chiu Ziyu said timidly. Chun Ziyun said, "That's right. That has to be it. That was why she was so generous with them." Everybody nodded. They couldn't accept the fact that Feng Wu was a level 8 inscription master. In their minds, all inscription masters were elderly people like Elder Mei. "Ziyun!" Sun Yu suddenly cried out. Everybody looked at him. "What?" Chun Ziyun was perplexed. "Ziyun, you feel different," Sun Yu said curiously. "I feel the same. Ziyun used to be just like us, but there's something so formidable about his energy now." Gong Sun-mu also looked at Chun Ziyun. His eyes widened. "You're a spiritual king now. A spiritual king." Everybody looked at Chun Ziyun in astonishment. God knew how eagerly they wanted to defeat the military academy. The military academy team had at least 2 spiritual kings, but the Imperial College had never had any before this. It was a great humiliation to Imperial College. But now, Chun Ziyun was a spiritual king. Really? Ziyun really is a spiritual king now? OMG, this is great news. Ziyun, how did you do it? Teach us. All the other team members asked him for instructions, but Chun Ziyun couldn't hear any of them. He was in a trance-like state. He tried to check his dantian, but was too excited to control his spiritual essence properly. He had wanted this so badly that when it actually happened, he didn't know what to do. It took him a while to regain control and examine himself. He was relieved. He had become a spiritual king. On this continent, only cultivators at the spiritual king stage and above were considered to be the real masters. The spiritual king stage was a benchmark. Above, it were the rulers. Below were those who were ruled. He had finally crossed the threshold and entered a new phase. It was a great rise for both himself and the Chun family behind him. He was going to make his family so proud. Chun Ziyun almost burst into tears. He took a deep breath and fought back the urge to cry. He knew perfectly well how he had become a spiritual king. Elder Wu looked at him in satisfaction. He also knew what had happened. He was a witness. He saw Feng Wu hand the spirit wine to Qin Ziyun, who drank it and made the breakthrough. Without the spirit wine, It would be next to impossible to turn a spiritual lord into a spiritual king. With it, the process became so easy. Elder Wu looked at the team and thought about the possibility of all of them becoming spiritual kings. The idea thrilled him. Chapter 28:16 Special Attention. Chapter 28:16 Special Attention. However, Elder Wu knew that wasn't feasible. The spirit wine would only work on someone like Chunziun, who had reached the peak of the spiritual lord stage. It would be wasted on other cultivators. Chunziun looked in the direction Feng Wu had left with complicated feelings. She said she would make him a spiritual king, and she did it. Nobody would believe such a promise, even if it came from the head of the college. How was she able to do such things? Meanwhile, Feng Wu was with Elder Mei. The old man stared at her for a long time, thinking the girl would be flustered. However, he was disappointed. The girl stood straight and met his gaze. She was so calm. "Where did you get the paper cranes?" Elder Mei asked. Feng Wu didn't answer him. "Who gave them to you? Who's your master?" Elder Mei stared at her. Feng Wu suddenly smiled. "There are 103 loopholes in the eastern woods in the college. Would you rather stare at me than repair them?" Elder Mei's face darkened. 103 loopholes. How did she know that? That was the correct number. Feng Wu walked away after that. She didn't need other people to recognize her achievements in formations and inscriptions. Those skills could work wonders when it came to surprising her opponents. Elder Mei didn't try to stop her. He watched the girl leave with a pensive look on his face. Imperial College. Feng Wu went back to her dormitory. Room 2001. Chaoga and Ziling had their own tasks to finish and were both away. Yihan had moved back. She was lying comfortably in a lounge chair, reading a book while eating some fruit. The door opened. Yihan frowned and looked in that direction. She thought it was Ziling and was going to scold the girl. However, she was dumbfounded when she saw Feng Wu come in. Earlier in the secret essence mine, Feng Wu had demonstrated her power, and even Shan Jingfei had been forced to go to Peace Grassland. Yihan scrambled to her feet, dropping the fruit in the process. She no longer tried to antagonize Feng Wu, but she didn't know if Feng Wu would want to take revenge. It would be a piece of cake for Feng Wu. She wanted to play nice and greet Feng Wu, but she was worried it would make her seem snobbish. Moreover, what if Feng Wu ignored her and walked away? So many thoughts flashed through Yihan's mind at that moment. Feng Wu only glanced at her and casually said, "You're reading." "Why, yes." Yihan didn't expect to hear Feng Wu greet her first and was overwhelmed by what felt like special attention. Feng Wu nodded at her and headed back to her own room. She had fought nonstop in the secret essence mine, which had cost her a lot of energy. She needed to take a break. However, she only took a few steps before she stopped. Yihan eagerly waited for Feng Wu to leave. Chapter 28:17 I'm a spiritual king as well. Chapter 28:17 I'm a spiritual king as well. Yihan was relieved that Feng Wu was leaving and was ready to go back to her room when Feng Wu suddenly spoke to her. She dropped her fruit again. She looked at Feng Wu and was too scared to breathe. Feng Wu sat down and patted the lounge chair. "Sit." Yihan was alarmed. Feng Wu smiled. "Since you don't have much to do, why don't you answer some questions for me?" Before Yihan could say anything, Feng Wu asked, "Have you heard of the military academy team?" Yihan was relieved. It seemed Feng Wu wasn't here to settle accounts with her. "Of course I have. I was one of the cheerleaders when our team fought them last year. We lost so miserably." Feng Wu asked, "Why do you say that?" Chunzian only said they had lost, but he didn't say how badly. Yihan knew Feng Wu had joined the dynasty team, so she immediately knew why she wanted to know. The two teams were going to compete again. Feng Wu would probably be taking part. She had to do some research beforehand. Yihan was happy to be useful. "If you ask me, you should stay out of this competition." Feng Wu shrugged. Yihan said, "If you have to take part, try to be the last fighter." Feng Wu asked why. Yihan said, "It will be a 5v5 competition. Each team will have 5 fighters, and the team with the last member standing wins. From what I've seen so far, the first ones to go on stage are beaten up pretty badly. The last one can choose to give in since our team will lose anyway. They won't suffer from too many injuries. Fengwu rolled her eyes. Why are you so sure that we'll lose? Yihan was amazed, and she asked after a long while, do you want to hear the truth? Before, when she deemed Fengwu to be her enemy, she found Fengwu insufferable. However, now that her mindset had changed, she realized that she liked Fengwu's company. She had never really hated Fengwu. It was all because of her jealousy. Fengwu said, of course. Yihan said, in that case, our school is bound to lose. Fengwu said, why do you say that? Yihan said, everybody knows the military academy has 2 spiritual kings because they fought in the competition last year. They're Xing Tian and Lu Haobei. Fengwu nodded. Yihan said, we received news today that another member of their team has become a spiritual king. His name is Lu Qinghe. So, they already have 3 spiritual kings, but we have 0. Fengwu said, Chun Ziyun is a spiritual king now. Yihan was surprised. Really? Fengwu nodded. Yihan was happy for a brief moment before her shoulders slumped. One spiritual king won't make any difference. Fengwu smiled at her. I'm a spiritual king, too. Yihan rolled her eyes at Fengwu and wouldn't believe her. She became quite impatient. Chapter 28:18 Sweet Revenge. Chapter 28:18 Sweet Revenge. The competition took place in the military academy last year, and it's our turn this year, but I'm going to take leave and stay at home. Fengwu asked, aren't you going to watch? Yihan shook her head. We're going to lose miserably. Why would I want to watch? Fengwu said, why do you think we're going to lose? Who's going to lose? Chaoga and Ziling came back at that moment. Yihan said grumpily, Fengwu says our team is going to win the competition this year. Chaoga and Ziling quickly ran into the room. Ziling was pleasantly surprised. Fengwu, are we really going to win this year? Chaoga was very confident. With Fengwu around, there's no way we'll lose. The entire school knew Fengwu had joined the seeded team. Yihan rolled her eyes at Fengwu. They have at least 3 spiritual kings, all right? Ziling covered her mouth. At least 3? What about? We have 1 at most, Yihan said without hesitation. Ziling said, that's why so many people went to see their tutors and asked to go back home for a few days. They can't face the defeat. Being a newer student, Ziling didn't react as strongly as Yihan, who had been here longer. Yihan said, I'm leaving too. Chaoga said, I know Fengwu is going to win. Fengwu patted her. Chaoga was right. She was going to win. Yihan glanced at her in resignation. Do you know why the seeded team is 1 man down and has to recruit Fengwu? Do you know why that person is absent? His name is Yuming. In a competition last year, Lu Haobei severely injured him, and he's still better now. Lu Haobei is only the 2nd best fighter in their team. Xing Tian, their captain, is the most capable one. Chun Ziyun was defeated in 3 stances. That team completely crushed us last year, and it was a great humiliation. I heard they found a secret cultivation place this year and made great progress. How are we going to defeat them? Yihan turned to Fengwu. I've told you everything you need to know. Listen to my advice. It'll be humiliating, but you won't be bettered for a year. Fengwu said, are you saying we should admit our defeat without trying? Yihan said, do you think I like the military team? Do you know how arrogant they are? When they left last year, Xing Tian cut down the flag of Imperial College. It was the greatest humiliation. Who doesn't want sweet revenge? But we can't. We're so much weaker than them. How are we supposed to win? Fengwu had always thought Yihan to be a snobbish person. However, the girl shook with indignation when she mentioned the flag. She was angry at her school. Although she might criticize the school herself, she wouldn't let other people criticize or humiliate it. Chapter 28:19 Sequence. Chapter 28:19 Sequence. Yihan stared at Fengwu. You can only imagine how much our students want to win this competition. The more they want it, the more scared they are. I do hope you can help our school to win, but you're only a member of the second team. Do you know what that means? It means you'll be sitting on the bench. You won't get to fight in the actual competition. You'll only be playing in the warm-up match. Don't be naive. Yes, you're lucky, talented, and have been making insane progress. But this is a battle beyond your level. You're not qualified to fight it. Yihan was so agitated that she shouted the first words that came to her mind. Chaoga lost her temper and stared at Yihan. Shut up. Feng Wu waved at Chaoga. She turned to Yihan and told her in a serious tone, I'll lead the dynasty team and win our honor back. Trust me. Yihan looked into her eyes. What a pair of eyes. They looked like bottomless pits, but they also made one feel very reassured, as if everything she said would become true. For an instant, she really believed Feng Wu. She then shook her head, thinking she must be crazy. How could Feng Wu, the weakest member of the team, lead the team to victory? Yihan hesitated. All right, I'll stay as a cheerleader. Feng Wu smiled. I think you'll have to set up a team first. Other people probably thought the same as Yihan and wouldn't want to watch the competition. Yihan asked, You know the game's rules, don't you? Feng Wu said, No, I don't. Yihan wanted to smack her in the head. How could she not know something so important? Where did she get the confidence that she could help the team to win? She couldn't understand why she believed Feng Wu. Yihan pinched her nose. Both sides have the main team and the backup team. In the competition, they'll also fight their respective counterparts. The main teams will determine which side wins, but the backups won't be sitting idly on the benches either. They'll fight first. The winning team will decide the order of each main team's members in the subsequent round. Feng Wu was surprised. Is that so? Yihan said, Yes. That is to say, if your backup team loses, the other team will determine their own order as well as the order of Xian's team. If they ask Chun Xian to fight first, then we'll lose miserably. Sheng Changtian is very likely to be their first player. If he defeats all 5 of our people, it'll be a great humiliation for our school. If your team wins and gets to decide their order, you can have their weakest member play first. That way, even if we lose, we'll defeat some of them first. It won't be as humiliating. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Did all the students in Imperial College think they were going to lose? Chapter 2820, Give Away Your Spot. Chapter 2820, Give Away Your Spot. Feng Wu thought Yihan only felt that way because she wasn't experienced enough. However, when she met Gong Sun Mu and talked to him about the competition, the old man didn't want to talk about it and only told her to stay safe. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Did even Gong Sun Mu think they were going to lose? Feng Wu arrived at the training arena. It was at the center of Imperial College. The spiritual essence was the densest here. She heard people talking before she went in. How about we focus all our strength on the backup team this time? It was Chu Chu. Apart from Chun Xian, all the team members were there. The competition was the most discussed subject at the moment. The team members were talking about it as well. Xiao Ziyu said, We should put our best members in the backup team. That way, we'll get to decide the order. Right? After that, we can arrange them in the order we like. We won't lose as miserably as last year. Last year was so humiliating. Sheng Changtian defeated all 5 of us. It was a nightmare. Chu Chu said, Put the best members in the backup team? Are you going to put Captain Shun and Sun Yu there? The military team will laugh at us. It won't be any less humiliating. He was right. Although the rules didn't forbid the main players to fight in the backup team, it was common knowledge that they shouldn't do it. Wang Yin grew anxious. You've turned down all our suggestions, so what should we do? Since when has Imperial College become so weak? This is so frustrating. Everybody felt the same way. Before, Imperial College could always easily win the competition, but things had changed in the past 2 years. Imperial College had never been humiliated like this before. Everybody was as frustrated as Wang Yin was. Feng Wu walked in at that moment. She asked in a curious voice that everybody could hear, I don't understand. Why are you all focusing on how to lose less miserably? The others turned around and saw it was Feng Wu. They all gave the newest member sympathetic looks. You're new here, so you don't know, said Xiaoziyu. We don't stand a chance. Knowing that, our only option is to lose gracefully. He then turned to the others. Sun Yu alone won't be enough. How about we let Ziyun join the backup team as well? Chen Ziyun was the captain of the dynasty team, and Xiaoziyu's suggestion would be a great humiliation for him. No one could bring themselves to talk to Chen Ziyun about it. Feng Wu rolled her eyes again. As for us, I can withdraw from the competition. Feng Wu, you're new and won't be of much use. You should withdraw as well and give your place to Ziyun. Feng Wu felt like hitting someone. Chapter 28-21, Associate Dean Shu Yun. Chapter 28-21, Associate Dean Shu Yun. Feng Wu couldn't stand all the ridiculous suggestions. She was about to speak when she heard some footsteps. Why is everybody here? What are you doing? Chen Ziyan leaned on the doorframe with his arms crossed and looked curiously at his team members. The boys looked at one another and didn't dare bring up their suggestions to Chen Ziyan. They didn't know where to begin. Everybody glanced at Xiaoziyu. After all, he was the captain of the backup team and had been the first to bring up the subject. He should be the one to break the news. Xiaoziyu was speechless. However, he was confident in his suggestions because he thought he was helping the school. He looked at Chun Ziyun and said solemnly, Ziyun, we want to make a request. Chun Ziyun glanced at him from where he was leaning on the doorframe. Xiaoziyu said, Ziyun, you should join the backup team. That's the only way we can make sure we'll win the first competition. That way, we won't lose so miserably in the final game. Screw you. Chen Ziyun was furious. Xiaoziyu was dumbfounded. He was only suggesting it because he wanted to help the team. We have Feng Wu. I'm sure we'll win. Chen Ziyun was very confident. After all, Feng Wu had some great treasure. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at Chen Ziyun. Yes, she had the spirit wine. However, she had sent most of it back home as soon as she returned to the academy. She only had less than a third left. How could Feng Wu help them? Everybody looked at Chun Ziyun in resignation. Feng Wu was a talented fighter and might be a little bit stronger than Xiaoziyu, but she couldn't be as good as anybody on the main team. The 5 members of the main team were Chun Ziyun, Sun Yu, Wang Xiao, Wang Yin, and Li Xiaochu. The backup team thought they were all level 9 spiritual lords. However, their captain had just announced his confidence in the girl. Just then, someone called outside. The military academy's people are here. The messenger was Hua Shan, Chun Ziyun's cousin. That was fast. Everybody frowned at Hua Shan. I thought they weren't coming until 3 days later. Chun Ziyun frowned. Who are they? Both teams and the tutor in charge. This year, the tutor is... Hua Shan paused before saying, it's Associate Dean Shu Yun. Shu Yun? The others opened their mouths, but didn't know what to say. Feng Wu glanced at them. What was with those looks on their faces? Who was Chu Yun? Chun Ziyun frowned. Since they're there, let's get the battle started. To the arena. The team members followed Chun Ziyun with conflicted feelings. It was Associate Dean Shu Yun. She had only been a tutor when she was in Imperial College. Feng Wu asked curiously, who's that? Chun Ziyun didn't answer, and Sun Yu said, she used to be Mr. Gong Sun Mu's wife. Then, anyway, don't act weirdly when we see Gong Sun Mu later. Feng Wu thought, I don't know how to act weirdly. Chapter 28-22, Motivation. Chapter 28-22, Motivation. Seeing how confused Feng Wu was, Sun Yu had to explain to her. Miss Chu Yun used to be our tutor and Mr. Gong Sun Mu's wife. She then divorced Mr. Gong Sun and married the head of the military academy within a month. Wang Zhao's face darkened. Everybody knows Ms. Chu Yun and the head had an affair before she dumped Mr. Gong Sun. Wang Yin said that happened last year. Our team lost, our flag was cut down, and Ms. Chu Yun is a humiliation to both Mr. Gong Sun Mu and our school. Li Xiaochu said. I thought she would at least have the decency to stop showing up here. However, she's actually the tutor in charge this time. She's crossed the line. Sun Yu said, if we lose again, everybody was frustrated. They wanted to tear something apart. They were already in a bad mood, and the news only made them feel worse. They felt like they were burning inside when they reached the arena. Many students received the news as well. Everybody was equally frustrated. Some people went into the forest at the back of the school and vented their anger on the magical beasts. Other people went to the cultivation rooms to avoid the embarrassing scene. Most students followed the dynasty team to the arena. When Chen Ziyun and his team arrived, Gong Sun Mu was confronting Chu Yun. Chu Yun was unbelievably arrogant. Gong Sun Mu said, the competition won't start for another 3 days. You're early. Chu Yun sneered at him. We're only free today. After that, we won't be here anymore. We have to compete today. Gong Sun Mu was angry. This isn't a small matter. You can't change the date as you like. Chu Yun said, what can possibly change in 3 days? Are you going to have more spiritual kings? Her students laughed when they heard this. Gong Sun Mu was furious. Chu Yun sneered at him again. You're always like this, too careful and too stubborn. Don't make me look down on you more than I already do. Gong Sun Mu's face went livid. Chu Yun changed her tone and said indifferently, we all know what your team is like. Just bring them here and get it over with. We're in a hurry to get to Peace Grassland. Gong Sun Mu couldn't stand the humiliation to Imperial College. Chu Yun waved her hand and said matter-of-factly, you're going to lose anyway. What difference do 3 more days make? You can't win. Chen Ziyun and his teammates clenched their fists and went scarlet red. Gong Sun Mu was so furious that he was shaking. Feng Wu glanced at Chu Yun. One arrogant woman. She cheated on Gong Sun Mu with the head of the military academy, but she sounded like she hadn't done anything wrong. The humiliation she gave Gong Sun Mu and Imperial College was unbelievable. She also understood that Chu Yun had done it on purpose. Chapter 28-23, start now. Chapter 28-23, start now. She was deliberately trying to enrage Imperial College. It seemed she was serious about moving up the date of the competition. Why were they so eager to go to Peace Grassland? Had something happened? If that was the case, Imperial College should have heard about it as well. Therefore, a great opportunity must be waiting for the military academy in the grassland. Feng Wu seemed unperturbed, but she made a mental note of it. So be it. We'll have the competition today. You don't scare us. Someone spoke on behalf of the dynasty team. Feng Wu turned around and saw it was Wang Xiao. He was indeed an impulsive teenager. Wang Xiao, it's you. Long time no see. A person walked out of the military team and smiled at Wang Xiao. Wang Xiao's face went livid. He's Liu Haobei. He gave us hell last year, Chu Chu whispered in Feng Wu's ear. When Feng Wu looked up, Wang Xiao and Liu Haobei were shouting at each other. The military team was arrogant and bossy. The dynasty team was frustrated and eager for revenge. Moreover, many of their classmates were watching. The dynasty team became even angrier. Fine, let's do it today. After consulting the elders, Gong Sun Mu agreed. Everybody fell silent. The winner this year would be determined earlier than usual. Gong Sun Mu stared at Chu Yun. The junior teams will compete first, followed by the varsity teams. So we'll need 2 days. Chu Yun cut him off with a wave of her hand. Why 2 days? One competition will be enough. You could decide the order of our players. How arrogant. Gong Sun Mu and his colleagues all turned livid. Gong Sun Mu and Chu Yun used to be husband and wife, but she was treating him like this while everybody was watching. Gong Sun Mu forced himself to calm down. The rule says 2 games, and we must follow the rules. Whatever. Chu Yun smirked. You're going to lose, anyway. If you want to lose twice in a row, so be it. She rolled her eyes as she spoke. She used to be an arrogant tutor when she worked in Imperial College. However, she had never been so obvious about it. She now looked like a scoundrel who had realized her ambition. Gong Sun Mu said, The junior teams will compete today and the varsity teams tomorrow. Chuyin wouldn't have it. She said impatiently, I told you already, my team is in a hurry to get to Peace Grassland, and we don't have that kind of time. Let's finish it today. All teams will compete today. She sounded so confident that the people of the Imperial College were infuriated. Sir, let's do it, somebody shouted. Although everybody knew they weren't the military school's match, they didn't care about that now. Chapter 28-24. What about Fengwu? Chapter 28-24. What about Fengwu? Sun Yu and the others all rushed to Gong Sun Mu's side indignantly and asked him to start the competition. Gong Sun Mu didn't know what to say. Because the junior team would compete first, Sheng Chantian patted Lan Xiefeng's shoulder. Good luck. The varsity team left after that. Their competition was in the evening, and they weren't worried about their junior team. They were going to use the time to walk around the campus. That was how arrogant they were. Lan Xiefeng nodded. Imperial College's junior team was so weak that he could defeat it with his eyes closed. Because Chu Yun was the tutor in charge of the teams, she had to stay here, although she knew her team would undoubtedly win this competition. The game will start soon, said Gong Sun Mu. The team leaders should hand in the players' names in 5 minutes. That was to prevent any team from changing players after the competition started. The names had to be handed in beforehand. Fengwu hadn't said anything. She recognized 2 out of the 5 members of the other team. They had met before. Some students had arrived to watch the competition. Fengwu saw Yihan. Xiao Xiao, Wang Ji, Ling Hao, Cheng Feng, and many of her new friends were all here to cheer her on. They were shaking with anger when they heard the humiliation from the other team. They wanted to run up to the stage and slap those people. They cursed Chu Yun with everything they could think of. Ling Hao said, Look, aren't the members of their junior team the 5 people we ran into in the secret essence mine? Yihan nodded. That's right. It's them. They were surrounded by spirit stone worms. Why aren't they dead? If they had died, they wouldn't have come here to humiliate us like this. I don't want to see them at all. They could criticize their own school, but they wouldn't let any outsider say a bad word about it. Fengwu wanted to roll her eyes when she saw the 5 people. The military academy wasn't as impressive as it was said to be. On the other side, Xiaoziyu was putting down the names of the players. Xiaoziyu said, Chu Chu, Li Zhan, Zhao Si, and I will play. Wang Xiao, would you like to join us? Without you, we'll have a very difficult time. That was an understatement. They would have no hope of winning at all. Wang Xiao hesitated. He was a member of the varsity team. Fighting for the junior team was quite embarrassing. Xiaoziyu said, Yes, it's embarrassing. However, if all 5 of us are defeated, it'll be even more humiliating. Wang Xiao said, All right then. Xiaoziyu said, Great. He then started filling in the names. Wait. Chen Ziyun found Qiu Ziyu's decision rather foolish. What about Fengwu? Fengwu herself wanted to ask the same question. Xiaoziyu said, Well, Fengwu is new. Chen Ziyun stared at him. Xiaoziyu said, Well, she hasn't completed her paperwork yet, so she's not an official member. We won't want the military academy to find out about it, do we? Chapter 28-25, New Captain. Chapter 28-25, New Captain. Chen Ziyun took out a piece of paper and shook it in front of Xiaoziyu. It had been signed by Zhuo Qingwan herself. He had been gone for a while because he went to look for her to sign the form. Zhuo Qingwan must have deliberately hidden away because she had been very difficult to locate. In the end, Elder Wu gave Chen Ziyun a hand and made her sign it. Chen Ziyun didn't tell the others what he had gone through. He only stared at Xiaoziyu. Xiaoziyu pretended to be pleasantly surprised. What? Does she have all the paperwork now? So, she's an official member. But Xiaoziyu seemed troubled. She's only just joined us and hasn't been trained. I don't think she knows the rules. Won't it be too risky to let her compete? He was looking for every excuse to stop Fengwu. He knew she was better than him because he hadn't been able to fight back when she dragged him away. Because of that, He didn't want to give Feng Wu any more chances to show her talent. Chen Ziyan saw through him and was full of disdain. Was Qiu Ziyu trying to give him trouble now? Now wasn't the time for internal strife. Qiu Ziyu didn't know who Feng Wu's patron was, which was why he dared to play such tricks. Chen Ziyu glanced at Qiu Ziyu, and the look gave Qiu Ziyu the creeps. What was going on? You're no longer the captain of the junior team, said Chen Ziyu. What? Qiu Ziyu stared at him in disbelief. Captain, he shouted. Chen Ziyu ignored him and turned to Feng Wu. You'll be the new captain. Feng Wu knew how critical the situation was, so she nodded. No problem. Qiu Ziyu was furious and shouted, I object. Chen Ziyu didn't even look at him. I wasn't asking for your opinion. Qiu Ziyu was furious. Fine. So be it. Since no one wants my opinion, you don't need me anymore. I quit. I'm leaving the junior team. After that, he ripped off his team uniform and threw it on the ground. No one noticed him at first because they had been talking in low voices. Now that Qiu Ziyu had raised his voice, everybody was looking at them. Gongsun Mu and Chu Yun were both on the stage close by. Gongsun Mu frowned at Chen Ziyu. Chu Yun glanced at the team and chuckled. What's going on with Imperial College? Are you making changes now? The captain of your junior team has just been dismissed, and he's leaving the team. Gongsun Mu, is that how you've been teaching your students? They're so divided. Gongsun Mu felt as if he had been slapped. Chen Ziyu was staring at Qiu Ziyu. The competition is about to start. Are you sure you want to do this? Of course, Qiu Ziyu knew that. He thought the team couldn't do without him. They wouldn't value him as much after the competition, and he wouldn't be able to change Chen Ziyun's mind then. At that thought, Qiu Ziyu smirked. If you remove me from my position, I'll quit. Chapter 28-27, Competition 2. Chapter 28-27, Competition 2. Next to Gongsun Mu was Chu Yun, and they had a complicated relationship. What's going on? I heard, Chu Yun said in a mocking tone. Gongsun Mu ignored her and turned to look at Feng Wu. Feng Wu nodded. We can do it. What choice did Gongsun Mu have? He could only say, those will be our 4 players. What? The students in the audience were astonished. Not many had come to watch because they all thought their school was going to lose. Even so, 30% of the seats were filled. All the Imperial College students stared at Gongsun Mu in bewilderment. Wasn't a 5v5 competition. Each side should have 5 players, and the team with the last member standing would win. Imperial College was likely to lose. If that was the case, why do they only have 4 players? What's going on? Why is this happening? Are we giving up? We don't have to be so proud. Everybody was displeased. Someone said, I saw Qiu Ziyu leave. He's the captain of the junior team, isn't he? I heard Feng Wu made him leave because she's the new captain, according when the names were announced. Feng Wu? Who's she? She's the new student who's been making all that insane progress. No matter how capable she is, she's still a new student. Why is she qualified to be a team member or participate in the competition? What makes her qualified to be the captain? I can't believe it. That's right. This is so important. If Feng Wu didn't do something, Qiu Ziyu would never have left. Many people started condemning Feng Wu. A person next to Yihan was saying similar things, and Yihan jumped to her feet in frustration. What are you talking about? Feng Wu is so talented. Of course, she's qualified to be a team member. The girl next to her was frightened by her reaction. The girl was from Class B and knew her classmates didn't like Feng Wu. Almost the entire class was against Feng Wu. Disliking Feng Wu became politically correct. That was why she blurted out those words. To her surprise, Yihan had switched sides. She remembered Yihan as one of the people who had hated Feng Wu. Why are you? The girl was scared of Yihan. Yihan said aggressively, Feng Wu is amazing. Just wait and see. You'll be convinced. The girl cringed a little, rose to her feet, and went to sit somewhere further away from Yihan. She wondered how Feng Wu was going to convince her. There were many students here, and most of them had heard of Feng Wu's name before or had even had dealings with her. That was especially the case with Class C students. They had spent the most time with Feng Wu because she started her days in the academy as a Class C student. Sun Jingyu, Mu Qianqian, Pei Si, and many others had seen how talented she was. At first, they're the anti-fans, the fans, and a neutral party. However, almost all of them turn into Feng Wu's fans in the end. Chapter 2828, Competition 3. Chapter 2828, Competition 3. Hearing that Feng Wu was going to be in the competition, all her fans showed up. That was why a third of the seats were occupied. Without the fans, there would be very few audience members. They all tried to explain to the others how amazing Feng Wu was. However, Feng Wu had skipped classes C and D, so most students didn't know her well. They didn't understand why Class E thought so highly of her. How good could she be? If she got along well with the Class E students, she couldn't be all that capable. Otherwise, she would be so proud and would never socialize with Class E. They decided that Feng Wu had taken away Qiu Ziyu's role in a critical moment like this to buy herself popularity, which only showed how much of a schemer she was. The other students found such a girl terrifying. Hence, they disliked Feng Wu even more. The Class E students were frustrated but didn't know what to do. They tried to explain how excellent Feng Wu was, but they couldn't give any detailed descriptions of her capability because it was beyond their knowledge. Would Feng Wu win? They couldn't say for sure either. Yihan wasn't sure either, but it didn't stop her from singing Feng Wu's praises. After Imperial College announced their players, Chu Yun announced theirs as well. The military academy's players were Lin Xiao, Lu Mo, Ma Hao, Wang Zhe, and their captain, Lan Xiefeng. Chu Yun played a little trick. Seeing that Imperial College announced its captain last, she also announced Lan Xiefeng's name. Gong Sun Mu gave her a knowing look. Chu Yun said confidently, "I'm leaving in 15 minutes. Gong Sun Mu snorted. "You can't leave during the competition." Chu Yun smiled. "It'll be over by then." Gong Sun Mu's face turned livid. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She almost felt sorry for Gong Sun Mu. Chu Yun was so arrogant that Feng Wu wanted to see the woman be humiliated. Chu Yun happened to glance at Feng Wu at that moment, and she sneered at the girl. "That woman." Feng Wu snorted. She extended her right arm and raised her thumb at Chu Yun. Chu Yun smiled, thinking the girl was going to surrender. However, the smile immediately froze on her face. Feng Wu had turned her hand and aimed her thumb at the ground. Was that a provocation? Chu Yun glared at Feng Wu. Chu Yun was a fierce woman. Almost all her students in Imperial College and the military academy were scared of her. No one had disrespected her like this before. She made a mental note of Feng Wu's name. Chu Chu was walking up to the stage. Chu Yun glanced at Lin Xiao and suddenly asked, "Can you defeat all four of them?" Lin Xiao had made some great progress and was very confident in himself. He was excited to be the first player. "I'll try." "You'll try?" Chu Yun frowned. Chapter 2829, Competition 4. Chapter 2829, Competition 4. "Yes, of course." Lin Xiao immediately changed his answer. "I'll defeat all four of them." Chu Yun was glad to hear the answer and patted him on the shoulder. "Go ahead." "Yes." Lin Xiao clenched his fists in excitement. If he could defeat all four opponents, Chu Yun would give him special treatment in Peace Grassland, and his progress would be even faster. The military academy was used to looking down on Imperial College. Lin Xiao didn't even try to lower his voice. He shouted out his answer. All the audience and the dynasty team wanted to slap him. 1 against 4. He had to be dreaming. Chu Chu was so furious he was speechless. That was such a humiliation. Lin Xiao went up on the stage, and Chu Chu made his move before Lin Xiao could stand still. It was the first battle, and everybody held their breaths and watched with full attention. Feeling indignant, Chu Chu spared no effort and made some very aggressive moves. Although Lin Xiao was playing on the away team, he He was much more capable than Chu Chu and could easily avoid his attacks. He started winning after 3 stances. Feng Wu shook her head. Chu Chu is going to lose. Wang Xiao smirked. Nonsense. Chu Chu hasn't shown his full strength yet. However, Lien Xiao kicked Chu Chu in the stomach before Wang Xiao could finish, and Chu Chu stumbled back. Lien Xiao took the opportunity to kick Chu Chu several times in a row. Chu Chu's face went scarlet. He didn't want to lose. However, he had reached the edge of the arena. No matter how reluctant he was still kicked out of the arena and fell to the ground. No! With blood on his lips, Chu Chu was so angry that he wished he could fight again. However, the kicks he received had severely injured his abdomen. He could barely stand, let alone fight. Zhao Si rushed to his side and helped him walk back to their team. The audience was dead silent. It happened so fast. They had thought that even if Chu Chu lost, he could at least injure his opponent. However, Chu Chu was badly injured, but his opponent was unscratched. Lien Xiao said arrogantly, "Who's next?" Li Zhan gritted his teeth. "I am." He went up on the stage. He wasn't any better than Chu Chu. However, he was more careful than Chu Chu and managed to stay in the game a little longer. But it didn't make much of a difference. In the end, he was kicked off the stage, just like Chu Chu. The other students thought their hearts had stopped beating. That was crazy. How could that happen? Li Zhan had lost so fast. The junior team only had 4 players, and 2 had lost. The competition hadn't started for more than 2 minutes. OMG, everybody was so frustrated that they wanted to leave. It was terrible to watch their own team getting butchered at home. Wang Xiao was equally displeased. Li Zhan injured Lien Xiao, but it was only a minor injury. Lien Xiao may win next round, too. Nobody spoke. They all knew Wang Xiao was right. Chapter 2830, Competition 5. Chapter 2830, Competition 5. Why is Lien Xiao so capable? Is he really going to defeat all our 4? Sun Yu was furious. If the names hadn't been announced, he would be going on the stage now. Wang Xiao smirked. That may actually happen. We've never been humiliated like this before. He then gave Feng Wu a dirty look. If Qiu Ziyu hadn't been chased away, this would never have happened. By then, no one believed they had a chance to win. All they hoped for was not to lose too miserably. Feng Wu glanced at Wang Xiao. "Are you referring to me?" Wang Xiao snorted. "You know what I mean?" Feng Wu nodded. "Yes, I know myself very well." Wang Xiao turned around in frustration and wouldn't speak to her. "I'll go next," Zhao Si said solemnly. "I'll defeat Lien Xiao, even if it costs me my life." Wang Xiao nodded. Feng Wu frowned. "No one's going to die. Just do your best. I haven't competed yet." However, her teammates didn't trust her. Shunzian didn't know what to say. He had been leaning on a column with his arms crossed the whole time. He knew how capable Feng Wu was. The junior team couldn't possibly lose. However, Wang Xiao and the other idiots. Chun Ziyun deliberately remained silent. He wanted to see how surprised the others would be when they saw Feng Wu fight. He snorted a little. Wang Xiao looked back at Chun Ziyun, who was half hidden in the shadows, and was disappointed. He believed Chun Ziyun was infatuated with Feng Wu's pretty face. By then, Zhao Si was already on the stage. Lien Xiao rubbed his chest where Lien Xiao had injured him. It didn't matter. It was only a minor injury. Seeing Zhao Si, Lien Xiao raised his chin and glanced at him sideways. "Are you going to give up, or should I kick you off the stage?" That was so arrogant. Zhao Si and all the other Imperial College students were furious. They wanted to kill Lien Xiao. Zhao Si gritted his teeth. "You're going off the stage this time," Lien Xiao said. "Really? Show me what you've got, then." He immediately charged at Zhao Si. Feng Wu studied his stances. He was indeed one of the best students of the military academy. He had been doing well in the secret essence mine, and his moves were even better now. He exerted his full power with each stance. His fists seemed to weigh 10,000 kilograms. Thump, thump, thump. Although his chest was injured, Lin Zhao's punches got even fiercer. Zhao Si couldn't begin to describe the pressure and pain he was in, but he wouldn't give in. His legs were broken. His wrists were broken. He was kicked in the chest. Zhao Si gritted his teeth and wouldn't give in. Lin Zhao dragged him to the edge of the stage, but he wrapped his arms around Lin Zhao's legs and wouldn't let go. Lin Zhao felt a chill run down his spine. The audience was so nervous that they didn't dare breathe. Chapter 2831, Competition 6. Chapter 2831, Competition 6. Zhao Si grabbed Lin Zhao's legs and wouldn't let go. Lin Zhao snapped his fingers, trying to loosen his grip and throw him off the stage. It didn't work. Even with his fingers broken, Zhao Si still wouldn't let go. How incredible! He was so stubborn. Lin Zhao started punching him. Zhao Si spat out mouthfuls of blood, but he still wouldn't let go. He only knew one thing. He couldn't lose. He couldn't let Lin Zhao defeat all four of them. The audience had risen to their feet. They were astonished by Zhao Si's persistence. Stop! Feng Wu frowned. Zhao Si, you've lost. Come off the stage. Lin Zhao was relieved. His opponent was so stubborn that he didn't know what to do. Zhao Si glanced at Feng Wu and shook his head. He wouldn't give in. He had a mission. Feng Wu went up on the stage and whispered in Zhao Si's ear. Don't worry. I'll defeat all five of them. Trust me. Zhao Si saw the look in Feng Wu's eyes and stopped resisting. He was finally drained of energy. Something snapped in his head. He fell into Feng Wu's arms and passed out. Feng Wu handed him to Li Zhan, rose to her feet, and stared at Lin Zhao. The audience was crestfallen. They thought they were going to lose. No matter how talented Feng Wu was, she had only just joined the team. The other three were all her seniors. Even they had lost so miserably. What would happen to Feng Wu? Can she even withstand one blow? Somebody asked. No one answered. Deep down, they thought the same. Gong Sunmu, I thought your team would improve after a year. I see they become even weaker. Lin Zhao is the weakest member in our team, Chu Yun said in satisfaction. He's not even the best student on the junior team. If he defeats all four students, your school will lose all its reputation. How about you ask me nicely? Maybe I'll show some mercy and let Lin Zhao spare one of your players. I was so unlucky when I was with you, but my luck turned around after I left you. Gong Sunmu, you're such a loser. Chu Yin was so pleased. If she had a tail, she would be wagging it now. Feng Wu heard her, and she glanced at the woman. Chu Yin met Feng Wu's gaze, her expression harboring some malicious intentions. You're quite a nice-looking girl. If you give up now, I'll let you study at the military academy. How would you like that? Chu Yin asked in a matter-of-fact tone, because she was so sure that Feng Wu would say yes. She wasn't usually like this, but she was so excited to defeat her old employer that she had forgotten herself. She wanted to say whatever came to her mind. Chapter 2833, Competition 8. Chapter 2833, Competition 8. Chu Yin stared at Lin Zhao. You've met her before. Lin Zhao nodded. Chu Yin asked, did she defeat you? Lin Zhao said, no, she saved us. He wanted to point out that Feng Wu had saved more than just him, but Chu Yin didn't hear him. She only asked, are you really not going to fight? Lin Zhao said, no, not even if you kill me. I'm not her match. He still remembered Feng Wu's red dress and flashing sword. She was so powerful that he had turned into her fan. Since her team still had 4 more players, Chu Yin didn't insist. She cut Lin Zhao loose. Lin Zhao immediately ran back to his seat. Luo Mo, it's your turn, said Chu Yin. Luo Mo didn't want to fight. He had spotted Feng Wu before Lin Zhao did. He was dumbfounded when he saw her face. What the heck? Wasn't their savior's name Zhuo Qingwan? As it turned out, their savior was Feng Wu and the captain of the junior team. Luo Mo wanted to cry. Even if she weren't their savior, he still wouldn't fight her. He remembered the way Feng Wu killed countless spirit stone worms with a single strike. Luo. Chuyin stared at Luo and urged him. Luo looked at his teammates. Ma Hao, his best friend, seemed to be studying the pattern on the back of the chair. No one wanted to get into trouble. Luo. Chuyin was furious. She thought, what's going on? Are they like this because that girl is too pretty? Seeing that Chuyin wanted to drag him onto the stage, Luo had no choice but to enter the arena. He walked as slowly as he could. Chuyin grabbed his shoulder when he walked past her. Defeat her. Luo didn't know what to say. It was an impossible task. He gave Chuyin an indescribable look. He rushed to Feng Wu's side before Chuyin could react. Luo did the same thing as Lian Xiao. He bowed at Feng Wu. I give up, my savior. After that, he ran back to his seat. He even ran off the stage from Imperial College's side because he didn't want to get scolded by Chuyin. Chuyin wanted to kill him. He had given up. Another one. She didn't know what the boys were thinking. Meanwhile, the audience was equally dumbfounded. What's that about? Am I blind, or has the military academy gone mad? Two of them gave up without fighting. Is her pretty face so useful? They were so confused. Members of the dynasty team were also perplexed. What the heck? Wang Xiao was almost too surprised to speak. How did she do that? Li Zhan said, our opponents are very powerful. Sun Yu said, did he just call Feng Wu his savior? Is that it? Feng Wu helped them before, so they don't want to fight her. Chapter 2834, Competition 9. Chapter 2834, Competition 9. Li Zhan said, this is great. There are 2 men down, and we won't lose so miserably. Chun Ziyun shook his head. Can't you be a little more ambitious? Wang Xiao looked at his captain. For example, Chun Ziyun said, for example, why can't we win this battle? Wang Xiao didn't know what to say. Captain Chun, please wake up. Wang Xiao pointed at the stage with a trembling finger. Can't you see what's going on? They're doing us a favor. They called Feng Wu their savior, which means she helped them before. Because of that, they want to return the favor and don't want to embarrass Feng Wu. That's why they gave up. Do you think they'll keep doing that? Do you think they'll keep letting her win? Even if they want to, the other team members won't let them. She couldn't have helped all 5 of them. Just wait and see. She'll be crying in a moment. They're going to kick her off the stage. Wang Xiao was very certain. However, Ma Hao, the third player, disappointed Wang Xiao. My savior, I give up. Ma Hao bowed to Feng Wu and ran off. Chuyin was speechless. Wang Xiao didn't know what to say. The rest of the crowd was equally silent. The fourth was Wang Zhe. He replicated what his teammates did and happily ran off the stage. He seemed so relieved. To say everybody was astonished was an understatement. For players had thanked Feng Wu, and Lan Xiefeng, their captain, was the only player left. Dynasty team looked at Lan Xiefeng expectantly. They thought he would do the same. Chuyin was furious. She had thought her team would win. She never thought they would lose. However, things had turned out quite the opposite. It was awful. Chuyin looked at the girl on the stage. Feng Wu stood there in an indifferent manner, as if she deserved those players' thanks. Chuyin couldn't believe it. She turned around and stared at Lan Xiefeng. If you give up, I'll make your life a living hell. Lan Xiefeng smiled bitterly. He only had 2 choices. He could let Feng Wu kill him, or Chuyin would do it. Lan Xiefeng took a deep breath and walked onto the stage. He's here. The audience was so nervous, especially Yihan, Sun Jingyu, and the other students who knew Feng Wu well. I heard Lan Xiefeng is quite capable. He's good enough to go to the varsity team, but he didn't. Do you think he'll give up like the others? I hope so. They all hoped Lan Xiefeng would admit his defeat without fighting. However, they were taken by surprise. Lan Xiefeng walked up to Feng Wu and smiled bitterly. My savior, it's nice to see you again. Chapter 2835, Competition 10. Chapter 2835, Competition 10. His savior. Did you hear that? He called her his savior. Yihan almost jumped to her feet. The last four players who had called Feng Wu that had all given up. Everybody stared at Lan Xiefeng with twinkling eyes. Feng Wu nodded with an expressionless face. Lan Xiefeng shook his head. I'm sorry about this. Ladies first. What? The audience let out surprised cries. Feng Wu was doomed. He didn't give up. Why did he want to fight her? Why wasn't he admitting defeat? What did I tell you? They did that on purpose. Wang Xiao smirked. The other four players gave up first to return the favor. Then their captain will defeat Feng Wu. You celebrated too early. We all knew how this would end. Nobody could respond. They all thought Lan Xiefeng was much better than Feng Wu. Chun Ziyun was the only one who knew the truth, but he wouldn't say anything. Even if Feng Wu loses, it's still much better than before, isn't it? Sun Yu snapped. They could have defeated all four of us with one player. Feng Wu eliminated four players, right? He was right, but the team members still wish they could win. They didn't dare watch the battle because they didn't want to see their team lose. Right at that moment, thump, there was a loud noise. Something heavy landed on the ground. It was a person. Lan Xiefeng has crossed the line. Feng Wu is a girl and his savior. How could he fling her away like that? Everybody looked up to see how badly Feng Wu had been injured. What they saw were the astonished looks on the faces of Chu Yun, Gong Sun Mu, and everybody else. Feng Wu was still on the stage. Her clothes were as neat as ever, and there wasn't a scratch on her. Who fell off the stage? Everybody looked in that direction. Somebody was lying on the ground. They saw his face. Lan Xiefeng. Captain Lan Xiefeng. He was thrown off the stage. It wasn't Feng Wu. What's going on? Am I seeing things? No, you saw correctly. Feng Wu kicked Lan Xiefeng, and he flew off the stage before falling on the ground. Everybody fell silent. They were trying to digest the information. Chu Yin jumped to her feet. That's not fair. She's cheating. She charged at Feng Wu and tried to grab her. Feng Wu smirked. If this woman wanted a battle, she would give her one. However, somebody blocked Chu Yun's way before Feng Wu could make a move. Gong Sun Mu shielded Feng Wu behind him and blocked Chu Yun's attack. Thump, thump, thump. Chapter 2836, Competition 11. Chapter 2836, Competition 11. Stop. A voice stopped the fighting. If you're so desperate to fight, why don't you go to Peace Grassland? Elder Wu suddenly showed up and scolded Gong Sun Mu and Chu Yun. Gong Sun Mu backed off silently. Chu Yun wouldn't have it. The students used to be so decent when I was here. They're cheating now. Elder Wu was displeased. He didn't like this woman, who had cheated on her husband before abandoning him. He asked, who cheated? How did they do it? What makes you think they cheated? The three questions rendered Chu Yun speechless. She was certain Feng Wu had cheated. Otherwise, why would her students let her win? But how had Feng Wu cheated? She couldn't tell Elder Wu that Feng Wu had cheated by using her pretty face. That would sound ridiculous. Seeing that Chu Yun couldn't give an answer, Elder Wu frowned. If you don't have any evidence, you're slandering other people. Chu Yun, you're still the same after so many years. Chu Yun flinched a little. She couldn't help but feel intimidated by Elder Wu. Back when she taught in Imperial College, Elder Wu had been her direct superior. Elder Wu turned to Gong Sun Mu. Is the competition over? Yes. Gong Sun Mu woke up from his reverie. He was still perplexed by the result. Why haven't you made the announcement? Elder Wu rolled his eyes at Gong Sun Mu. Yes, right? Gong Sun Mu was reminded of what he needed to do. He cleared his throat and announced, Imperial College has won the junior team competition. The audience was perplexed for a few moments before they realized what they had heard. We won. I can't believe it. We won. I thought that one player was going to defeat all four of ours, but we won the competition. OMG. After the initial astonishment, the audience applauded. Only 1/3 of the seats were occupied, but the clapping was louder than a full house. The students were flushed with excitement. Someone stood at the back. It was Chiu Ziyu. He never left. He headed for the exit after falling out with his team. He thought Feng would give in, but she didn't. He thought Chen Ziyun would ask him to return, but Chen Ziyun didn't. He then hoped the other team members would say something, but that never happened either. Chiu Ziyu hadn't wanted to leave like that. He doubled back before he had even gone a few hundred meters. He stood behind all the seats and wanted to watch his team lose. He wanted to see everybody blame Feng Wu. He wanted to see Chen Ziyun regret his decision. He had imagined how Feng Wu would beg him to come back, but reality slapped him in the face. Weren't all the students from a military academy supposed to be geniuses? Why did this happen? How could they be so weak? How could they lose? Chiu Ziyu was so angry he almost fainted. Chapter 28:37, Competition 12. Chapter 28:37, Competition 12. Nobody paid any attention to Chiu Ziyu. They were all looking at Feng Wu, their hero. She was already stunning, and now she had won a great honor for Imperial College. Her popularity among the students soared to a new height. At the very least, all the spectators here were impressed. After they left the arena, they all shared the exciting news with their friends. At the same time, only a few people were left in the arena. They were the team members from both schools. There was also Chu Yun, Gongsun Mu, and Elder Wu. Chu Yun's face was livid. She glared at Feng Wu so hard that she wanted to poke holes in the girl. Feng Wu wasn't intimidated at all. She even smiled at Chu Yun. Chu Yun felt like punching the wall. She turned to Gongsun Mu. Those were only the junior teams. The main competition will be tonight. Gongsun Mu nodded indifferently. Chu Yun glared at her team. Let's go. Chu Yun had planned to stay on campus with the team, but given what had happened, she would rather stay in a tent than stay here. She didn't stop until they reached the mountain at the back of the school. She glared at Lan Xiefeng. Why did you let her win? You can tell me the real reason now. Lan Xiefeng clutched his chest and smiled bitterly. I didn't. How dare you lie to me? Chu Yun wanted to slap him. Lan Xiefeng closed his eyes and repeated, I didn't. She didn't need such a favor either. Lian Xiao looked at Chu Yun. Haven't you realized how capable our fairy is? Their fairy. Chu Yun was infuriated by the way Lian Xiao addressed the girl. She scolded him. What fairy? Use her proper name. Lian Xiao said, Feng Wu didn't just save our captain. She saved all of us. Lian Xiao nodded when he saw how shocked Chu Yun was. We were surrounded by spirit stone worms in the secret essence mine, and they were going to kill us. Then Feng Wu suddenly appeared, killed all the worms, and saved us. Chu Yun's face darkened. Lan Xiefeng had mentioned that before. Didn't you say it was Zhuo Qingwan, the owner of the true phoenix blood, who saved you? Chu Yun frowned. Lian Xiao shook his head. That was what we thought at first. After all, we were told there were no spiritual kings among the Imperial College students. So, when we heard Zhuo Qingwan's name, we thought she was our savior. We only knew it was Feng Wu when we saw her on the stage today, Lian Xiao said in a tender tone. She was his goddess. Chu Yun didn't like the look in Lian Xiao's eyes when he said Feng Wu's name. She turned to Lan Xiefeng and wanted to tell Lan Xiefeng to discipline his teammate. However, she saw the same look on Lan Xiefeng's face. Chu Yun was astonished. Chapter 28:38, Competition 13. Chapter 28:38, Competition 13. When she looked at the other 3 team members, she saw the same looks on their faces. You. Chu Yun was furious. Although these 5 students weren't the most capable in the military academy, they had great potential. She was so disappointed. Are you all in love with her? Chu Yun's face was livid. They didn't deny it. Chu Yun bellowed. How dare Feng Wu seduce my students? I'll kill her. Lan Xiefeng and the other 4 boys grew anxious. You can't do that. Lan Xiefeng blocked Chu Yun's way. Chu Yun was even angrier. If you all like her, she'll create a wedge between you. None of you can have her. Lan Xiefeng smiled bitterly. Why do you think we're good enough for her? Chu Yun said. What do you mean? Lien Xiao said. She's too good for us. Chu Yun said. What? The other three boys said. We fancy her the way one would fancy a fairy. We only want to admire her from afar. We've never wanted more than that. Chu Yun was dumbfounded. What's that supposed to mean? Admire her from afar? Who does she think she is? Lien Xiao looked into her eyes and said sternly, Miss Chu, there's something I've been meaning to tell you, and it's been bugging me and affecting my cultivation, so I'm going to say it. Chu Yun was perplexed. Lien Xiao said, I like her and consider her my goddess. That's my own choice and my business. I don't like it when other people tell me what to do. Chu Yun wanted to say something when Lien Xiao added, especially when they say it for my own good. Chu Yun felt like she had been slapped. After being humiliated by Feng Wu, she was humiliated once more, and by her own students. Lan Xiefeng nodded. She's my goddess, and I won't let anyone criticize her. The other three boys stared at Chu Yun and nodded solemnly as well. Chu Yun was astonished. She couldn't understand what was happening. If she had been born in Feng Wu's previous life, she might have found these boys' behavior familiar. Fans would do anything to defend their idols. She said hurriedly, You're still too young to understand. I'm only trying to help you. Lan Xiefeng and the others looked at one another, and all seemed bored. Seeing that the boys wouldn't talk to her, Chu Yun got even angrier. No matter how much you like her, you shouldn't have let her win. This is such an important competition. Ms. Chu Yun, Lan Xiefeng raised his voice. I don't know if you didn't hear us, or you're pretending you didn't. Let me say it again. We didn't let her win. She didn't need that. She's very capable. She's at least a spiritual king. The 5 of us can't defeat her together, let alone in a 1v1 battle. She didn't attack us, and that was very kind of her. Do you understand now? Everybody fell silent after Lan Xiefeng gave that little speech. Chapter 2839, Competition 14. Chapter 2839, Competition 14. Chu Yun stood there dumbfounded. She had heard Lan Xiefeng earlier, but hadn't wanted to accept the truth. Now that Lan Xiefeng was forcing her to accept reality, she was furious. What's going on? Someone interjected. It was a familiar voice. They turned around and saw that it was the varsity team. Sheng Changtian's face was livid. Behind him were his 4 teammates. They quickly walked over and stepped between Chu Yun and Lan Xiefeng. Sheng Changtian looked from Chu Yun to Lan Xiefeng, and his face turned dark. What did you do? His eyes were filled with fury. Chu Yun snorted and didn't answer. Sheng Changtian turned to Lan Xiefeng. Answer me. How did you lose a battle that we should have won? The 2 teams had arrived together. During the junior team competition, the varsity team went to walk around the campus, as if they were looking for something. They thought their junior team was so much better than Imperial colleges and would definitely win the competition. However, they received the news when they were still walking around. The military academy's team had lost the competition. What? Sheng Changtian couldn't believe his ears and had come back in a hurry. You really lost, then? Sheng Changtian glared at Lan Xiefeng. Lan Xiefeng found Sheng Changtian scarier than Chu Yun. So, he nodded silently. Sheng Changtian said, Why did you lose? Lan Xiefeng said, She's better than me. Sheng Changtian frowned and stared at him. Lan Xiefeng nodded. Feng Wu is a spiritual king. Sheng Changtian asked, Who's that? He had never heard of that name before. He turned around and looked at his 4 teammates. LV Haobei, Lu Qinghe, Tang Mingjiang, and Sun Jinyuan looked at one another before turning to Sheng Changtian and shaking their heads. They didn't know who that was either. Lan Xiefeng smiled bitterly. If Feng Wu hadn't saved them, they wouldn't have noticed her either. She's really good, said Lan Xiefeng. She may be even better than Captain Sheng. LV Haobei laughed. He glanced at Lan Xiefeng. Have you forgotten which team you're in? No wonder, Ms. Chu is so angry. Lan Xiefeng didn't know what to say. He had seen Feng Wu fight. Anyone who did would know how terrifying her swordplay was. What technique does she use? Sheng Tian asked. Lan Xiefeng still remembered the elegant way Feng Wu moved, and he blurted out, "She doesn't have any technique. She only uses one stance from the beginning to the end." He was telling the truth, but the proud Sheng Tian wouldn't believe him. "That's enough. She's just a spiritual king, and you're making her sound more than she actually is." Sheng Tian and the others thought Lan Xiefeng only said that because he wasn't a spiritual king himself and didn't know what spiritual kings were like. They thought he would find all spiritual kings unfathomably powerful. Chapter 2840 Competition 15. Chapter 2840 Competition 15. Sheng Tian said to Chu Yun, "It's just a battle between the junior teams. It's no big deal. We can defeat them in the varsity team battle." Chu Yun thought the same and was relieved. "Let's get something to eat." While the group from the military academy calmed down, Imperial College was still feeling overjoyed. In the arena, Feng Wu, you're amazing." Chu ran around Feng Wu like a puppy. He was so thrilled that he couldn't stop smiling. "Feng Wu, how can you be so amazing? They must have all been stunned by your beauty." Chu almost couldn't form a coherent sentence. The other team members were more sensible than he was and knew it had nothing to do with Feng Wu's beauty. "Did you meet them before?" Sun Yu asked curiously. Feng Wu nodded. Sun Yu said, "They called you their savior. Did you help them?" Feng Wu nodded. "Yup." Sun Yu asked, "When? Why don't we know about it?" Feng Wu said, "It was in the secret essence mine." She then added, "They were surrounded by spirit stone worms and were almost killed. I killed the worms for them and gave them a paper crane." "You really saved their lives." Chu stared at her in amazement. "Would they have died if you hadn't helped them?" Feng Wu said, "Yes, they would have." Chu said, "Are you saying you could defeat all 5 of them?" Feng Wu said matter-of-factly, "Yes, I can." She sounded very serious, and the crowd was speechless. It was only then that they realized how capable she was. "What's your level now?" Chu asked tentatively. "I'm a spiritual king." Feng Wu didn't try to hide it. SSSS. Everyone sucked in their breaths. A spiritual king. Feng Wu was a spiritual king. If that was the case, of course she could defeat Lan Xiefeng and his 4 teammates. OMG. Feng Wu, are you even human? How long has it been since you joined the academy? You've only just risen to Class B. Didn't you just join our team? You're already one of the 2 spiritual kings we have. That is to say, you're the second best player on the team. Her teammates were shocked by this piece of information. However, they were soon ecstatic. Chu couldn't control his excitement and said whatever was on his mind. "Do you remember how Xiaoziyu left us at a critical moment?" The others had forgotten about Xiaoziyu until Chu brought him up. What they didn't know was that Xiaoziyu was standing behind them in the doorway. He was trying to figure out how to quietly sneak back in and beg Chun Ziyun to forgive him. However, he heard his name before he stepped into the room. He didn't know if he should walk in or leave, so he just stood there. He wanted to know what his teammates thought of him. Everybody was busy condemning him at that moment. "Do you remember how Feng Wu suppressed Xiaoziyu?" That means Xiaoziyu knows how capable Feng Wu is. Sun Yu was the first to realize what had happened. Chapter 2841, Competition 16. Chapter 2841, Competition 16. Chu said, "Yes, I remember that. I thought Xiaoziyu didn't want to fight a girl, but I realize now that he's not generous like that. If he could, he would have hit Feng Wu back." Sun Yu said, "That's right. That means Xiaoziyu already knew, then, that Feng Wu is better than he is. However, he tried to stop Feng Wu from participating in the competition." Everybody tried to recall what happened. Sun Yu was right. Xiaoziyu tried to use the incomplete registration form as an excuse, but Chun Ziyun exposed his little trick. Chiu Ziyu then tried to exclude Feng Wu by saying she didn't know the rules. All in all, he hadn't wanted Feng Wu in the competition. Sun Yu ground his teeth. Doesn't he know what we're facing? The military academy has been winning all this time. Does Chiu Ziyu have no idea how frustrated we've been? Chu Chu said, I'm sure he does. Sun Yu said, if he does, why do you try to stop Feng Wu from fighting in the competition? Chu Chu asked why. Sun Yu said, because he's jealous. He knew if he let Feng Wu compete, she would demonstrate her power and everybody would be amazed. As the captain, he would feel humiliated. He might even lose his position. That's why he tried to stop Feng Wu. Chiu Ziyu broke into a cold sweat when he heard this. How? How could they have guessed it so correctly? That was exactly what he had been thinking. Hearing Sun Yu and Chu Chu's conversation, Wang Xiao felt his cheeks burn. He didn't dare look at Feng Wu. Meanwhile, the other team members started criticizing Chiu Ziyu as well. How could Chiu Ziyu do that? Did he think he could suppress a genius like Feng Wu? More importantly, doesn't he know what we're facing now? All he cares about is his personal gain. He isn't a team player at all. He even blackmailed us before the competition and forced us to fight 5 opponents with 4 players. If we didn't have Feng Wu, we would be crying our eyes out now. Where's Chiu Ziyu? I want to punch him in the face. Chiu Ziyu was speechless. Wang Xiao, who had been on Chiu Ziyu's side, was speechless as well. He didn't dare look in Feng Wu's direction and wanted to stay unnoticed. Chiu Ziyu took a step back and hid outside. He didn't dare look up, fearing that the others would beat him if they caught him. The subject soon changed after they were done criticizing Chiu Ziyu. Wait, we now have 2 spiritual kings on our team, right? Sun Yu was thrilled. Ziyan and Feng Wu are both spiritual kings. Everybody nodded. Sun Yu said, we were feeling so defeated before because they have 3 spiritual kings while we had 0, but we have 2 now. Everybody was reminded of the good news. Yes, that was right. Sun Yu's eyes were twinkling. Right? Right? We have 2 now. 2v3. I think we have a chance. Chapter 2842, Competition 17. Chapter 2842, Competition 17. Holy crap, you're getting me excited. Wang Yin, a member of the varsity team, patted Sun Yu on the shoulder. We may actually win. Everybody was excited. Their original plan had been to give all they could to win the junior team competition. Now that they had won, they became hopeful about the varsity team competition. Let's think about it, Sun Yu said excitedly. We've defeated their junior team and won the right to determine the order of their players. How should we arrange them so that we can win the 2v3 competition? Everybody was lost in thought. Feng Wu suddenly said, who told you it's 2v3? Her question made everybody jump. Chu Chu was terrified. Feng Wu, you can't back out now. You're going to give us a heart attack. The others were as frightened as Chu Chu was. They were so worried that she wouldn't take part. Feng Wu chuckled when she saw their behavior. I didn't mean that. Chu Chu asked, then why did you say it wouldn't be 2v3? They have 3 spiritual kings. Feng Wu said, I mean it's 3v3. What? Everybody was shocked. Sun Yu asked, is there a hidden spiritual king among us? Who? Tell us. Feng Wu grinned at him. It's you. Sun Yu was speechless. Feng Wu only smiled. Sun Yu rolled his eyes at her. Xiao Wu, please don't make fun of me. I'd love to be a spiritual king, but I'm not. Do you know how hard Ziyun worked to become one? Do you know how long it took? He gave everything he got. It still took him 3 years to become a spiritual king. As for me, Sun Yu pointed at himself and smiled bitterly. It'll take me at least 3 more years to become a spiritual king if I'm ever going to become one at all. Maybe I'll never get there. A level 9 spiritual lord sounds so close to a spiritual king, but the actual gap is enormous. Feng Wu only smiled at him. The look gave Sun Yu the creeps, and he wondered what Feng Wu was getting at. Chun Ziyan came in and threw an arm over Sun Yu's shoulders. If Xiao Wu says you're a spiritual king, you're going to be a spiritual king. Sun Yu didn't understand. He looked at Chun Ziyun in bewilderment. Feng Wu took a small vial from her sleeve and handed it to Sun Yu. Sun Yu took it, still confused. Before he had time to react, Chun Ziyun removed the cap and poured the content into Sun Yu's mouth. Sun Yu was forced to drink it. What's this taste? Sun Yu frowned. That's awful. Why does it taste like piss? Feng Wu wanted to laugh. The liquid had been brewed in that pit, so the taste was unavoidable. It's the taste of a spiritual king. Feng Wu smiled mysteriously. Sun Yu didn't believe her. The others also thought she was joking, and no one took her seriously. I'm starving, Feng Wu said. Xiao Wu, let's get something to eat. Chapter 2843, Competition 18. Chapter 2843, Competition 18. Feng Wu was accepted by the team after the competition, and they began to think of her as a part of the team. Xiao Wu will gain at least 10,000 points from this competition. You should treat us to lunch. Chu Chu suggested. 10,000 points. Feng Wu was perplexed. I didn't know we could gain points. Chu Chu said, Of course we can. The school will reward us for winning a competition like this. You're the main reason for our victory, so you'll get at least 10,000. Feng Wu asked, What can I do with these points? Chu Chu said, There are so many options. You can use it on cultivation, weapons, techniques, and even pay for a meal at Star Cloud Tower. Feng Wu asked, What's Star Cloud Tower? Chu Chu stared at her. Seriously? You don't know what Star Cloud Tower is? Haven't you been there before? Sun Yu couldn't feel the effect of the spirit, wine, even though his spiritual essence was going through a drastic change inside him. He still thought Feng Wu was making fun of him and had completely forgotten about what he had drunk. He patted Chu Chu on the shoulder and said grumpily, It's only been a couple of months since Xiao Wu joined our school, and she only came to our team a few days ago. It's not surprising that she doesn't know what Star Cloud Tower is. That place is open to Class A students only. He then turned to Feng Wu. Star Cloud Tower is a special place. The food ingredients there all come from magical beasts. They're very rich in spiritual essence and can greatly benefit your cultivation. Only tutors and Class A students are qualified to eat there. Feng Wu said, If Class A students can go there all the time, you wouldn't be so excited. Sun Yu chuckled. Xiao Wu, you're so clever. That's right. We wouldn't find it so rare if we could go there whenever we want. However, the mysterious chef in Star Cloud Tower will only prepare one feast every month. The food will be very peculiar, but it'll do wonders for your cultivation. You'll suddenly feel enlightened about things that baffled you before. Everybody says the mysterious chef is an extremely capable cultivator, but no one has ever seen the person. Feng Wu said, Sounds like a floor-sweeping monk. Sun Yu was confused. Sweeping the floor? That's not what the chef does. He disappears as soon as he finishes cooking. Feng Wu cleared her throat. Chun Ziyun said, I heard the mysterious chef is Master Linghu's personal cook. He takes a day off every month to cook here and waits for the right cultivator to come along. Master Linghu? Feng Wu's eyes lit up. The others screamed, Master Linghu? OMG, are you talking about the Master Linghu? Chun Ziyun nodded. I only heard Mr. Gongsun mention it once. He wouldn't say more and only said we should spend our points on that meal whenever we can, or we would regret it for the rest of our lives. Is that so? That meal is rarer than in legend. Feng Wu said, Let's go. We'll book seats for today. Everyone stared at Feng Wu in astonishment. A booking? That wasn't an option. Chun Ziyun smiled bitterly. Let's go then. Maybe we'll get lucky. Chapter 2844, Competition 19. Chapter 2844, Competition 19. They quickly headed for Star Cloud Tower. The tower had 2 levels. The ground floor was the lobby filled with dozens of tables. It wasn't difficult to get a seat here. There was only one table on the second floor. It was reserved for the mysterious chef who only came here once a month. Although Star Cloud Tower was an Imperial college, The owner wasn't a member of the college and didn't follow the college's commands. However, the tower had a good relationship with Imperial College. The owner was called Ji Xingyun, who was a beautiful woman in her 20s. She greeted Chen Ziyun and his team with a smile. Captain Chen, to what do I owe this honor? Ji Xingyun got along well with Chen Ziyun and spoke to him in a casual manner. Chen Ziyun came here every month for a seat on the second floor and was quite familiar with this place. Miss Ji, you have to reserve a good number for us. Chen Ziyun chuckled. Ji Xingyun said, you don't have to tell me that. I always give you a good number, but you really don't have much luck. You've only eaten that meal once, right? Chen Ziyun rubbed his nose with an awkward smile. Feng Wu observed Ji Xingyun curiously. Ji Xingyun also noticed the stunning girl in the red dress. Her eyes lit up, and she beamed at Feng Wu. What a pretty girl. You're the legendary Feng Wu, aren't you? Feng Wu greeted her politely. She liked this young woman with a bright smile. Do you know her? Chen Ziyun asked curiously. I don't know about things outside this tower, right? The whole school has been talking about your competition today. We might not have known Feng Wu's name before, but after that glorious battle, everybody knows her name. The glorious battle? Chen Ziyun rubbed his chin. Ji Xingyun said, she saved the whole team at a critical moment and won back your dignity. If that's not a glorious battle, what is? She couldn't say enough good things about Feng Wu. She genuinely liked this stunning teenage girl. Ji Xingyun then handed a number plate to Chen Ziyun. The result will come out in 5 minutes. Take this. I think this should give you a bit more luck. She then lowered her voice. Master Taihe may be a little sensitive to this number. Master Taihe was the name of the chef. His rule was only the chosen one could eat his food. That was why he only came here once a month and would only cook one table full of food. Rather than choose the highest bidder or the most talented, he would give the opportunity to the person chosen by fate. Every team in the waiting area would have a number plate. Master Taihe would randomly pick one after he finished cooking. The team with that number would eat the food. Master Taihe was still cooking now, and the result would be announced in 5 minutes. Feng Wu and her team saw countless people in the waiting area. At least hundreds of teams were trying their luck. They heard footsteps at the door. Chapter 2845, Competition 20. Chapter 2845, Competition 20. The footsteps sounded familiar. Feng Wu involuntarily turned her head and saw some familiar faces. Chu Yun led the way and was followed by members of her varsity and junior teams, led by Sheng Chantian and Lan Xiefeng respectively. What a coincidence! Sun Yu followed Feng Wu's eyes and almost exploded when he saw those people. Why are they here? Sun Yu said angrily. What? Everybody else turned their heads. They all rose to their feet when they saw who those people were. Chuyan noticed them when they all stood up. The two sides didn't really speak to each other, and Chuyan was going to ignore Dynasty Team as well. However, Sheng Chantian walked toward his opponents. His 4 team members seemed equally interested and followed him. Chu Yin frowned but couldn't stop them, so she had to follow her students. Soon, Sheng Chantian stopped in front of Chen Ziyun and stared at the latter. Chen Ziyun wasn't intimidated. He stood ramrod straight and stared back at Sheng Chantian. The two sides were at daggers drawn. Sheng Chantian suddenly raised his eyebrow and smiled. Ziyun, it's been a while. Chen Ziyun only stared at him and didn't say a word. Sheng Chantian was still smiling, as if he was confident enough to rule the world. He said, I'm 1 year older than you, but for a while, you were always 1 step ahead of me. You joined Imperial College 1 year before I went to the military academy. You were always 1 level higher than I was. I was a level 7 spiritual lord when you were at level 8. You were at level 9 when I became a level 8. You were always a little quicker than me, and I thought I would be slower than you for the rest of my life. I never thought you would be stuck at the spiritual lord stage for so long. Finally, I'm 1 step ahead of you. I'll be a step ahead of you all the time. Chen Ziyun, you'll always be inferior to me. Sheng Chantian smiled at Chen Ziyun. You'll feel the same jealousy I did for the rest of your life. Chun Ziyun stared at Sheng Changtian without saying a word. Feng Wu glanced at Sheng Changtian and said indifferently, "You must be blind." She didn't try to be polite. Given Sheng Changtian's status, not many people dare to speak to him like that. He was a little taken aback. He then saw the girl in a red dress to the right of Chun Ziyun. What a stunning girl. Are you Miss Feng Wu? Sheng Changtian was a shrewd man who always kept a poker face. People around him always felt a chill run down their spines. Chun Ziyun stepped forward and stared at Sheng Changtian. "This is between us. Don't get other people involved." Sheng Changtian chuckled. "Is it?" Chun Ziyun reminded him. "You can't afford to offend her." Chun Ziyun laughed. "Chun Ziyun, you don't know me at all. Thought you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.